Chapter 25-43 Final Battle, 3, The Non-Human Kings Discussed. They clearly remembered how difficult it was to deal with the SPCE Spirit Rat in the ancient battle. The SPACE Spirit Rat back then was only a peak Heavenly Emperor, but ordinary peak Heavenly Emperors were no match for it at all. Even demigods would find it difficult to kill the SPCE Spirit Rat. The SPCE Spirit Rat's life-saving ability was too strong. They had to use a few demigods to kill the SPCE Spirit Rat. They heaved a sigh of relief when they realized that Bubble's cultivation base had yet to reach its peak. SPCE Spirit Rats are one of the few races in the world that come from the outside world. They have a great origin and are very amazing. They haven't exerted their potential at all, or they would be even more terrifying. Send all the Heavenly Emperor-level powerhouses to the battlefield. I want this SPCE Spirit Rat alive. The non-human divine ancestor said. Yes. Someone received the order and spread the news. Immediately, be it the returning ruins battlefield or the two-world city battlefield, the Heavenly Emperor powerhouses of the evil god tribe began to set off. Returning ruin city and two-world city, the evil god race sent out 5,000 celestial thearchs each. They flew towards the battlefield, and their auras were so strong that they shook the heavens and earth. Those were heavenly emperors. There were 5,000 heavenly emperors on each battlefield. What kind of concept was this? The evil god tribe had ACCU Mulet for countless years before they had so many heavenly emperor existences. On the edge of the lair of Zulong, the evil god tribe Celestial the Arch has already appeared. Pass down my order, let the Celestial the Arch fight. The ancestral dragon gave the order. The order was quickly said down, and suddenly, almost all the Heavenly Emperor powerhouses from the Heaven Realm went to battle. The Sinkhole City was filled with divine beast powerhouses. One after another, terrifying and savage divine beasts stomped through the void and charged toward the evil god clan Celestial the Arch. The celestial emperors of both sides began an even more intense battle in the sky. On the Heaven Realm side, the number of experts cultivating in the lair of Zulong was astonishing, especially the divine beasts. After all, the Zulong was a true dragon. Therefore, the strength of the divine beasts in the Heaven Realm was still stronger. However, with the addition of the prison realm, the human race's strength skyrocketed. Therefore, the battle in Two-World City was fought by the human race and the prison realm. On the Two-World City battlefield, all of the human race's celestial thearchs had also joined the battle. They were fighting fiercely with the evil god race's Celestial the Arch in the sky above the battlefield. The battle was so intense that the heavens and earth cracked and the sun and moon dimmed. This was Ablood's Saker. The battlefield seemed to have turned into a purgatory. This was a decisive battle that would determine the fate of one side. No one would be soft-hearted, and no one would hold back. Everyone only had one goal, and that was to kill their opponent. There were many familiar figures in the army of the Celestial the Arch. Heavenly Emperor Hainu, Heavenly Venerate 6 Sages, Archean Body Cultivators, Thunder 1, Earth 1, and so on. Kill! A white-haired elder howled. He was covered in blood as he fought with a tall evil god. If Lu Ming was here, he would definitely recognize the elder. He was the patriarch of the Lan family, a 4-star heavenly emperor. However, the evil god race member that he was fighting against did not have a weak cultivation base. The two of them were bathed in blood as they fought, and they exchanged hundreds of moves. Pfft. In the end, the Lan family's old ancestor crushed the head of the evil god race member with a single palm strike. However, before the evil god race member died, he also slashed out with his axe, splitting the Lan family's old ancestor into two. Perishing together. Water 1. On the other side, Lei let out a furious roar. Water 1 had been killed. He had been blasted into pieces in the air by a royal member of the evil god tribe. A group of puppets, die. The royal clan of the evil god tribe was extremely powerful and had the cultivation base of a 5-star heavenly emperor. Just as he was about to charge at Lei Yi and the others, a sword light suddenly flashed, and the body of the royal member of the evil god tribe froze. Then, with a bang, he was split into several pieces and died on the spot. A middle-aged man with a cold expression appeared. Xian Luo. Lei Yi recognized this person. If Lu Ming was here, he would definitely recognize that this person was the patriarch of Xian Feng, Xian Xiang, and the others. Obviously, his injuries had healed and he had the cultivation base of a peak heavenly emperor. Xian Luo's expression was cold as he charged forward. However, one of the peak heavenly emperors from the evil god race had his eyes on him, and the two of them started fighting. There were people dying continuously. Heavenly emperors and great emperors were usually powerful experts, but now, they were worthless as they died in battle. The non-human divine ancestor and the ancestral dragon were all watching the battle closely. Senior, I'm afraid that the outsiders will not send the same number of troops to both the battlefield of the ruins of End and the battlefield of Two World City. I reckon that the other party will feign an attack on one of the battlefields while their real main force will attack one of the battlefields and then break them down one by one. A demigod suggested to the ancestral dragon. Yes, that's what I think too. I just don't know which battlefield they are targeting. Zhu Long nodded. Their faces were all very serious. This was because they knew that the main force of the evil god tribe had yet to make a move. Those demigods and a terrifying army from ancient times, the sky-breaking army. This army was said to be able to trample through the heavenly realm and was extremely terrifying. Furthermore, neither the non-human divine ancestor or the sacred ancestor Bloodheart had made a move. This battle was very disadvantageous for them. The battle continued, and in the blink of an eye, it had been intense for half an hour. Evil God World. The 9 of you, attack the city of returning ruins together and lure out the demigods from the heaven realm. The non-human divine ancestor looked at the non-human kings. However, he looked at the current king tier. Other than the first king tier, there were 9 other people. Yes. The 9 kings accepted the order and tore through the void, hurrying to the battlefield of the ruins of End. The returning ruins battlefield, on the ground or in the air, were the battlefields below the celestial arch level. The true dragon, Phoenix, Qilin and the other powerful races had set up formations fight the giant beard race. The two sides were locked in battle. High up in the sky was the battlefield of the celestial emperors, Si La. Suddenly, ASPACE split open, and an extremely terrifying sword light slashed out toward the true dragon's battle formation. This true dragon battle formation was formed by at least 10,000 true dragons. They transformed into a huge true dragon and fought with a giant beard tribe being. At this moment, the sword light slashed down, causing the true dragon's expressions to change. Roar! 10,000 true dragons roared and formed a huge formation. They extended a huge dragon claw and grabbed at the sword light. Boom! With a terrifying explosion, the huge dragon claw was cut off. The hundreds of true dragons that had laid down this dragon claw were killed in an instant. The entire formation also crumbled, and tens of thousands of true dragons retreated, many of them spitting out blood. Si La. The SPCE cracked open, and a figure appeared. He held a sword in his hand and wore a crown on his head. He exuded a terrifying aura. Not good, it's the opponent's king. Many people's expressions changed drastically. Kill. This evil god king was extremely cold. With his sword in hand, he once again slashed out at the 10,000 true dragons. Your opponent is me. In the distance, a roar sounded, and a golden dragon claw suddenly appeared and grabbed at the non-human king. The non-human king's sword clashed with the golden dragon claw, causing the SPCE around it to explode. The next moment, a golden true dragon appeared in the air. It also gave off a terrifying aura that wasn't any weaker than a non-human king. Swipe left to continue. Chapter 2544 Demigod Battle, Golden Saint Dragon King. The non-human king said coldly. This golden true dragon was the king of the true dragon tribe, the Golden Saint Dragon King. He was a demigod and was the strongest existence in the true dragon tribe, second only to the ancestral dragon. He was even stronger than the 9 dragons back then. In the Divine Beast clan, the top 10 battle beasts were not the strongest. Some were comparable to the top 10 battle beasts or even Serpa. Said them. For example, the Golden Sacred Dragon King, Heavenly Tiger the Arch, and so on. The reason why the top 10 beasts were so famous was because they were special. The top 10 battle beasts were almost all mutated. For example, there were 9 dragons and 9-headed golden lions. In the world, there was only one of them. Each of them had amazing talent, which was why they were so famous. You killed so many of my dragon tribe's tribesmen. I'll tear you to pieces. The Golden Holy Dragon King's eyes were cold. The Golden Holy Dragon King roared and pounced towards the non-human king, engaging in an intense battle. Golden Holy Dragon King, how many of us can you stop by yourself? A cold voice sounded. Not far away, the SPCE trembled and another non-human king appeared. His powerful aura pressed down on the Golden Holy Dragon King. Oh, really? Do you think there's no one else in the heaven realm? A sharp voice rang out. The SPCE cracked open, and a huge phoenix covered in red flames flew out. Roar! With a roar, a giant tiger the size of a mountain appeared on the other side. It was filled with and its aura was extremely terrifying. Old Phoenix King, Heavenly Tiger Emperor, you old guys are all here. A cold smile appeared on the non-human king's face. Good. They didn't die in the ancient battle. This time, they're dead. A cold voice rang out. Next to the non-human king, many figures appeared. Fiendish aura there were a total of 8 figures. Including the one who was fighting the Golden Holy Dragon King, there were a total of 9 people. Each of them was wearing a crown and had an earth-shattering aura. With the 9 non-human kings gathered, no one dared to approach within a radius of a few million miles, except for Supreme Emperor Sky Tiger and the old Phoenix King. Those who were fighting and killing consciously stayed away from this area. These were all unrivaled experts. Once they made a move, the world would be turned upside down. Those who got close and were swept in would be crushed to pieces. I didn't expect all 9 of you to be here. Heavenly Tiger Emperor's expression was extremely serious. What? There are only 3 of you in the heaven realm? I'll finish you off today. One of the non-human kings was the most anxious and immediately charged towards the old Phoenix King. Following that, the other non-human king also made his move and fought with the Sky Tiger Supreme Emperor. However, there were still 6 other kings present. It seems that those guys from the heaven realm haven't come yet. Then I'll take care of these 3 castes first and bring them back to drink with me. A tall non-human king, with his purple hair flying in the wind, charged out and attacked Heavenly Tiger Imperial Master with a terrifying move. He wanted to team up with the other non-human king to deal with Sky Tiger Emperor first. However, at this moment, a spear pierced through the air toward this non-human king. The non-human king's expression changed, and he could only change his move to block the spear. Boom! The void exploded and the long spear trembled. A burly man in battle armor stepped out of the dark void, his aura violent. 5 elements, your cultivation. The non-human king was shocked. The burly man in armor was the 5 elements Qilin, one of the top 10 battle beasts. Back then, he had only had the cultivation base of a peak heavenly emperor. However, he was now a demigod. Are you surprised? I'll slaughter you today. The five elements Qilin was extremely domineering. Slaughter me? Haha, so what if you're here? You'll still die. The non-human king laughed. Count me in. With a roar, a huge golden lion charged from the distance. Its 9 heads let out a long bowl, and its aura was terrifying. It was also a demigod. Huh, Qingsong, it seems like you've also broken through. With a loud laugh, a giant bull appeared, its aura violent. A middle-aged man was standing beside the giant bull. It was the 9 lives devilish silkworm. Their auras had all reached the demigod realm. How is that possible? How come all of you have reached the demigod realm? Damn it! A few non-human kings cried out in disbelief. First it was the 5 elements Qilin, then the 9-headed golden lion, followed by the Tan longhorn and the 9 lives devilish silkworm. All of them were demigods. They were all peak heavenly emperors in the past. Although a peak heavenly emperor was only a step away from becoming a demigod, it was extremely difficult to cross this step. Demigods also had the word God in their names. With a wisp of divine fire, they had stepped into a completely different level, a higher level of life. The meaning behind it was completely different. There were many peak heavenly emperors in the world, but the number of demigods was extremely small. If it had only been a single breakthrough, it would still have made sense. However, the 5 elements Qilin, Qingsong, the Tan longhorn, and the 9 lives devilish silkworm had all broken through. This was shocking. No wonder the kings were so shocked. Weren't you very powerful in the past because of your high cultivation? Let's fight, now. Kill. Qingsong roared as his 9 lion heads charged toward a non-human king. At the same time, the Tan longhorn beetle and the 9 lives devilish silkworm also attacked a non-human king. Of the 9 non-human kings, 7 of them had opponents. There were only 2 left. Let's attack first and kill them together. The eyes of the remaining 2 non-human kings glowed with a cold light. They were about to join forces to kill the 9 lives devilish silkworm and the others. At this moment, the void in the distance exploded. A huge mountain suddenly rushed out of the void. It was extremely huge and pressed down on one of the giant beard race beings. Although the giant beard tribe was extremely powerful, they still couldn't resist the mountain and were blasted into meat paste. Whoosh! Suddenly, a combat sword appeared above the head of another giant beard tribe cultivator and cut him in half. In the blink of an eye, 2 powerful giant beard tribe members had been killed. Who's there? Sneak attack from there. You're looking for death. The 2 kings were furious. The giant beard race was a powerful weapon of war. Each of them was extremely powerful, but they were few in number. Now that 2 of them had been killed, the non-human king's heart bled. Boom! Boom! The 2 of them attacked at the same time. They stretched out 2 big hands and blasted in the direction of the 2 weapons. The void there was directly shattered. Buzz! Buzz! The 2 weapons trembled and disappeared. In the next moment, a battle saber appeared above the head of another giant beard tribe member. With a slash, it killed the other giant beard tribe member. Damn it, you're looking for death. The 2 kings of the non-human race were furious. They rushed out and attacked together. The area was completely destroyed, and the SPCE was blown into pieces. Aya, you scared this lord to death. In the dark void, a 17 or 18-year-old youth wearing a Taoist robe was shouting and jumping around, dodging the attacks of the non-human kings. If it wasn't Dandan, who else could it be? 22-23. Chapter 2544 Experts All Out, Divine Turtle of the World, You're Looking for Death. The 2 non-human kings recognized Dandan's true form at a glance and charged toward her. Around Dandan were 5 to 6 weapons, all of which were Heaven Dao soldiers. At this moment, he pushed out with both hands, and 5 or 6 Heaven Dao soldiers flew towards the 2 non-human kings, clashing with them. The void kept exploding, and Dandan's weapon was sent flying back. "You turtle, you're lucky you didn't die back then. How dare you run out? I'm going to roast you today," a non-human king said coldly. "Fuck you. I couldn't beat you back then, but don't think that I can't beat you now. If I don't step on your faces today, I won't be called the world ghost god." Dandan was furious and her body transformed into a giant turtle. The turtle Sheli was covered with strange patterns and looked ancient. A terrifying aura was emitted from Dandan's body. "Demigod. How is this possible? You've also broken through." A non-human king shouted in disbelief. What was going on? The remaining top 10 battle wrists had all broken through to the demigod realm. How was this possible? "Kill. I'm going to kill you." Dandan laughed loudly. His body was incomparably huge, but his speed was astonishing. His 2 turtle claws swatted down, and endless symbols filled the air, intertwining to form a terrifying attack. "So what if I've broken through? I'll still die." The 2 kings of the non-human race revealed ferocious expressions and charged at Dandan at the same time. They wanted to kill her together. Boom! Boom! A terrifying explosion sounded out and the void exploded. Dandan's huge body retreated, but the 2 non-human kings also retreated. They were evenly matched. The 2 non-human kings' expressions were extremely ugly, and they were also extremely shocked. Dandan's combat strength was so powerful that she could fight with both of them at the same time. In the demigod realm, there was usually not much difference in combat strength. They were almost on par. There were very few who could be stronger than others. Back then, the Chaos the Arch and the Undying the Arch were more powerful than ordinary demigods, but they still couldn't fight against 2 demigods. In the evil god tribe, only the king of the number 1 royal tribe had the battle prowess to fight against 2 demigods. However, Dandan also had such strength. How could they not be shocked? "Haba, is this all you have?" Again. Dandan laughed and charged at the 2 non-human kings. The 2 sides engaged in a fierce battle, and it was difficult to determine the winner. With this, the 9 non-human kings were all blocked. "Ha ha ha, good." A burly man on the ancestral dragon's side laughed. The others beside the ancestral dragon also laughed. This was truly a pleasant surprise. They hadn't expected Qing Tsang, the 5 elements, the T-10 longhorn beetle, and the others to all become demigods. Originally, they were all going to go and stop the non-human king, but now, they could temporarily bide their time and guard against other methods of the non-human race. This was very beneficial to them. Could this be the effect of the life fruit, them said. That's right. This time, Lu Ming obtained many fruits of life. I'll share them with you guys and the 5 elements. Moreover, Lu Ming has some leftovers. He has given them to T-10, 9 lives, and the rest. Therefore, they relied on the energy of the fruit of life to break through the bottleneck. Zulong said. Lu Ming, it's all thanks to him this time. Another person sighed. N. The others all nodded. All these years, there were not many fruits of life left in Lu Ming's hands. He had almost given them away. However, everyone understood that the 9 lives devilish silkworm, Qing Tsang, and the others were able to break through because of their shocking talent. They had also accu mulat enough for many years. That was why they could break through in one go with the help of the life fruit. If it were any other peak heavenly emperor, they might not be able to break through even with the fruit of life. However, this was definitely a pleasant surprise for the heaven realm. On the other hand, the evil god tribe was the complete opposite. Beside the non-human divine ancestor, the king of the number 1 royal family and the old kings all had dark expressions. How is this possible? How could the top 10 battle beasts have all broken through to demigod level? The number one king roared. He really couldn't figure it out. Not to mention him, even the non-human divine ancestor could not figure it out. Al had no idea that Lu Ming had obtained the inheritance of the Netherworld Island Master and a large number of life fruits. Therefore, his face was extremely gloomy now. Their plan had been disrupted. Their original plan was to use the 9 non-human kings to attack the ruins of End battlefield and lure out the demigods from the heaven realm. After that, they could send these old kings to attack the two-world city battlefield with all their might. They could break through the two-world city in one fell swoop and charge into the Tai Ching heaven region, razing it to the ground. But now, this plan would not work. Have the sky-breaking army get ready. Also, all of you attack together and attack two-world city. The non-human divine ancestor instructed. Yes. The number one king and the other old kings all nodded. Their eyes were filled with coldness as they tore through SPCE. The moment they moved, the ancestral dragon discovered them. Those old guys from the alien race are about to make their move. Next, it's up to you guys. Zhu Long said to the people beside him. Well, fight to the death. There were more than 10 people beside the ancestral dragon. They were experts that the heaven realm had accumulated over countless years. Among them, there were not only those who cultivated the nomological system, but also those who cultivated the primordial martial arts, the primordial demonic path, and the primordial body cultivation path from the primordial era. And there were experts from the prison suppression field. All of them were demigods. They tore through SPCE and appeared on the battlefield of two-world city in the next moment. See La. Not far in front of them, the SPCE cracked open one after another, and more than a dozen figures appeared. It was the number one king and his group. The gazes of the two sides collided, creating brilliant sparks. It's you old fogies. Many of you were injured in the ancient battle. Do you think you can stop us? The number one king said coldly. Try it and you'll know. An old man in sackcloth from the heavenly realm said. You're bluffing. Let's try. Attack. The number one king tier directly charged towards the heaven realm's experts. The heaven realm side also moved and charged towards the evil god race. Boom. Boom. An earth-shattering boom resounded as the two sides clashed, causing continuous explosions. The number one king was extremely powerful, and his battle prowess was far above the other demigods. However, he also had enemies. On the side of the heaven realm, there were also existences whose battle prowess was not weaker than his. Sovereign rebellion, your origin was injured back then. How can you recover to your peak? The number one king roared. His opponent was a middle-aged man with a tall and straight posture. The middle-aged man was known as the Renegade Emperor. At his peak, he was even more powerful than the Chaos Emperor. However, during the ancient war, Venerable Sovereign Rebellion's origin was injured. He had been in seclusion for all these years. Logically speaking, his injuries should not have recovered so quickly. You old fogies were also injured back then, but didn't you recover? Venerable Sovereign Rebellion laughed coldly as he continued to clash with the number one king. 23. Chapter 2545 Frightening heaven-crushing army. More than 10 demigods from the heaven realm fought an intense battle with the evil god race's old king and number one king. It was difficult to determine the victor. The evil god race's old king, the number one king, and the others were both shocked and furious. During the ancient battle, many people in the heaven realm had their life essence injured. For example, Venerable Sovereign Ni Luan's life essence was injured, and it was not easy to recover. Of course, some of the older kings of the evil god race had also been injured in the battle back then. Over the years, the evil god race had used up almost all of their top-notch natural treasures to allow these old kings of the evil god race to recover. However, the evil god tribe occupied the entire evil god world and the 8 heaven domains of the heaven realm. With such a vast territory, they would naturally have many treasures. However, in the heaven realm, there was only the Tai Ching heaven region left. The natural treasures were very limited, but now, these half-gods in the heaven realm were actually all at their peak. They really couldn't figure it out. They were both shocked and furious. This time, many things had already exceeded their expectations. For example, the world god turtle, the T-I-10 longhorn beetle, and the 9 lives devilish silkworm, who were among the top 10 battle beasts, had become demigods. There were also the old demigods in the heaven realm who had recovered to their peak state. All of these were things that they had not expected. If they knew that this was caused by the life fruit that Lu Ming brought out from the Netherworld Island, Be wondered what kind of expressions they would have. In the evil god world, the non-human divine ancestor's expression was also very ugly. He looked into the distance, as if he could see through the endless void. The ancestral dragon also looked at the evil god race, as if he was looking at the non-human race's divine ancestor. Both of their eyes shone with a bright light. Ancestral dragon, do you think you can win? This time, the heaven realm is destined to be destroyed. All your efforts will be in vain. The non-human divine ancestor said coldly. His voice actually directly penetrated the endless void, from the evil god realm to the heaven realm, and into the ears of the ancestral dragon. This kind of skill was simply inconceivable. Oh, really? Don't you know that those who commit injustice are doomed to destruction? And NBSP Zhu Long also spoke, and his voice spread to the evil god world. Ha ha ha, ancestral dragon, you've lived for such a long time, and you still believe in such nonsense. Ridiculous, ridiculous. The non-human divine ancestor sneered. He faced the ancestral dragon from afar and controlled everything on the battlefield. On the battlefield of the ruins of End and the battlefield of Two World City, the fighting was extremely fierce. The two sides could be said to have turned out in full strength, and it was difficult to determine the winner in a short time. This battle lasted for a full 7 days. Countless powerhouses from both sides had already fallen on this battlefield. Countless emperors to be, illusionary emperors, true emperors, and great emperors were killed or injured. Even many of the heavenly emperor realm cultivators had died in battle. On the battlefield of Two World City, Huang Ling, Long Chen, and the others were covered in blood. Wounds appeared on their bodies, and they looked terrifying. They had fought for 7 days, but they were still alive. It was all thanks to their cultivation of the indestructible ancient scroll and the consumption of the life fruit that they were able to hold on. Otherwise, they would have died. Kill, kill. They roared and continued to kill their way toward the evil god race with bloodshot eyes. Over the past few days, they had seen countless heaven realm experts die in battle. Some of them were people they knew, but now, they would forever remain this land. Now, the only way to resolve this crisis was to kill them all. It's almost time. The non-human divine ancestor murmured. He then waved his hand, and a voice transmission jade talisman flew out. Not long after, a terrifying army set out, heading towards the battlefield of Two World City. The evil god tribe's heaven-crushing army had finally moved out. The ancestral dragon, who was far away in the heaven realm, also sensed it. I hope it can be blocked. The ancestral dragon muttered and then sent out another piece of news. On the battlefield of Two World City, everyone was fighting. Suddenly, a deafening roar came from the distance, and then everyone saw a dark cloud charging toward them. Another army of 100,000 soldiers appeared. Although it was nothing compared to the tens of millions of soldiers on the battlefield, it was still a huge army. However, the aura it emitted was terrifying and made everyone tremble in fear. Kill! Kill! The sky-breaking army roared as 100,000-strong army surged towards the battlefield like a flood. Their cold killing intent made it hard for anyone to breathe. It's the sky-breaking army. Let's move. The members of the evil god race recognized this legendary army and immediately stepped aside, making way for the heaven-crushing army. The sky-breaking army directly charged at the heavenly realm army. Whoosh! Whoosh! 100,000 attacks burst out from the sky-breaking army and rushed toward the heaven realm army. Suddenly, the heaven realm army was killed one by one, and tens of thousands of people died in an instant. What's going on? It's so terrifying, the army of the heaven realm was shocked. Kill! The sky-breaking army was too strong. Wherever they said, they destroyed everything as casually as breaking dry weeds and smashing rotten wood, causing countless deaths and injuries. Damn it! The evil god tribe actually has such an army. In the sky, many heavenly emperors were shocked. Some of the heavenly emperors attacked the sky-breaking army, but some of the sky-breaking army's people attacked the heavenly emperors, killing them. Terrifying, it was truly terrifying. Even a heavenly emperor was killed in an instant. You actually want to attack the sky-breaking army? You're overestimating yourself. Some of the evil god race's celestial thearchs sneered. The heaven-crushing army was the most terrifying army in the evil god tribe's ancient legends. There were only 100,000 people in the army, but they were all experts above the great emperor realm. Among them, there were 5,000 who were above the heavenly emperor realm. 95,000 great sovereigns and 5,000 celestial emperors. What a powerful force this was. It's the sky-breaking army. Damn it! The expressions of the demigods from the heaven realm changed drastically. Set up the formation. At this moment, the commander of the sky-breaking army gave the order. Immediately, the 100,000 soldiers of the heaven-breaking army began to form a large array. Some of them flew into the sky while others landed on the ground. They were arranged in a strange formation, and their auras intersected with each other. Their powers fused together, and an incomparably huge giant appeared between the heavens and the earth. The giant was so huge that it was several times bigger than the giant beard tribe. Some of the 100,000 soldiers of the heaven-crushing army were at the head of the giant, while others were at the limbs. The power of the heaven-crushing army was gathered to form this giant. Boom! This giant stepped out, covering the sky and the sun, and stomped towards the heavenly realm army. Not good. Long Chen, Feng Ling, and the others were within the range of the giant's foot. The pressure was too terrifying and irresistible. Once the giant stepped on them, they would be turned into ashes. Are we going to die here? Long Chen, Feng Ling, and the others could not help but have this thought. However, at this moment, transparent bubbles suddenly appeared on their bodies and enveloped them. Then, their bodies trembled and they disappeared. Boom! The giant foot stomped down, and thousands of heaven realm powerhouses turned into ashes. 100,000 miles away, Long Chen and the others appeared, their faces pale. Chapter 2547 Ancestral Dragon Battles. Mok Yuang Ling, Long Chen, and the others looked at the heaven realm expert who was stomped to death in the distance, and their faces turned pale. If they were there, they would probably die as well. Bubble, you've saved us again. They looked at a little girl, Bubbles. Earlier on, it was Bubbles who had saved them and moved them out of the area. That's amazing. I was almost blocked by that force and couldn't save you. Bubbles' face revealed a look of fear. Boom! After the giant stomped down, he punched out. This punch was not aimed at the ground, but at the sky, at the heaven realm powerhouses who were fighting. The giant fist crushed over, causing the void to explode continuously. The scene was extremely terrifying. Block it. There were at least 100 celestial emperors who attacked together and launched their most powerful attacks at the fist. Boom! 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 A series of explosions rang out continuously. However, the attacks of the heavenly emperors were completely useless. They were shattered by a single punch like fireworks. The heavenly emperors retreated frantically, and dozens of them even exploded and died on the spot. Terrifying, it was too terrifying. Damn it! The demigods of the heaven realm were furious. They wanted to get out and block the heaven-crushing army, but the demigods of the evil god race held them back. Finally, two half-gods used all their strength to shake off their opponents and charge toward the sky-breaking army. Kill! The two demigods attacked with all their might and made two moves. A long spear pierced through the sky and charged toward the giant formed by the sky-breaking army. In addition, there was also a battle blade that illuminated the sky and split the heaven and earth in half. A demigod's attack was heaven-shaking. Boom! Boom! The giant was very direct. He threw two punches at the attacks of the two demigods. There was a terrifying explosion between heaven and earth. The spear and the saber shook violently and then were sent flying. The two heaven demigods also retreated. Their faces were pale and blood seeped out of the corners of their mouths. Strong, he was too strong. The heaven-breaking army's battle formation was unbelievably powerful. Two demigods working together were forced back in one strike and were heavily injured. With just the two of you, you want to contend against the sky-breaking army? You overestimate your abilities. One of the evil god race's demigods laughed coldly. His body flashed as he blocked the heaven realm's demigod. They knew very well that the sky-breaking army also had demigods. Demigod, Peak Heavenly Emperor, 6-star, Heavenly Emperor, 5-star Heavenly Emperor. There were experts of all levels, and they formed a large formation. They were simply too powerful, and one or two demigods couldn't contend with them. However, they wouldn't let all the demigods the heaven realm stop the heaven-breaking army. Boom! The giant was about to continue hunting the strong Pract. Tioniers of the heaven realm. At this moment, more than a dozen white-haired old men appeared in the distance. They quickly approached the sky-breaking army. Suppress, kill. More than a dozen white-haired old men shouted in unison, releasing extremely powerful auras. The weakest of the elders was a Peak Heavenly Emperor, and there was even a demigod among them. They were all elders of the prison suppression field. Then, their bodies glowed, and 9 stone tablets flew out from their bodies. The prison guarding steel. There were 9 prison suppressing steels, 1 main steel, and site auxiliary steels. As soon as the 9 prison suppressing steels flew out, they grew larger than mountains. The 9 prison suppressing steels formed the prison suppressing formation and pressed down on the giant of the sky-breaking army. The giant also threw a punch at the prison guarding steel. Boom! With a terrifying boom, the prison suppressing steel trembled and flew back. However, the giant formed by the sky-breaking army also trembled and retreated. It was blocked. The prison guarding steel blocked the giant, and the two sides were evenly matched. The Heaven Realm army was extremely excited, and their morale increased greatly. The prison suppressing steel, damn it! The evil god race's old king, the number 1 king, and the others were also furious. The 9 intact prison suppressing steels exploded with shocking power and blocked the sky-breaking army. Roar! The giant let out a roar and stomped on the ground, punching out with both fists. Suppress! More than a dozen elders of the prison suppression field controlled the prison suppression monument together and continued to suppress the sky-breaking army. The two sides continued to clash and boom. The entire area was shaking. Both sides were in a state of anxiety, and it was difficult to determine the victor. Moke, let's see what other tricks you have up your sleeve now. The ancestral dragon's voice reached the non-human divine ancestor's ears. The non-human divine ancestor's face turned ugly, and a cold light flashed. Ancestral dragon, have you forgotten your killing intent? Even if the others are blocked, so what? Once your killing intent is out, all your efforts will be in vain. The non-human divine ancestor sneered. The ancestral dragon's face turned solemn. What he was most worried about was Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart hadn't appeared yet. He was probably taking the time to heal. Once he recovered, who could stop him? His only hope was on Lu Ming. He hoped that Lu Ming could break through quickly. Ancestral Dragon, why aren't you attacking? The non-human divine ancestor suddenly said. Zhu Long's eyes moved, but he didn't say anything. You're just trying to stall for time. You want to wait for Lu Ming to break through, right? If not, you'll definitely fight me to the death. Only by killing me or injuring me will you have a chance to stop your killing intent. However, you're not making a move yet. Hee. The non-human divine ancestor sneered, seeing through the ancestral dragon's thoughts. The ancestral dragon didn't say a word. He knew that with the intelligence of the non-human divine ancestor, he wouldn't be able to hide anything. However, Lu Ming cultivates the path of domination. It's not that easy to break through in a place like the Heaven Realm. Even so, I won't give you a chance. Despair, ancestral dragon. The non-human divine ancestor said coldly. With that, he disappeared into the void and headed straight for the Heaven Realm. Roar! The ancestral dragon let out a dragon roar and instantly transformed into his true form. He turned into a huge truck dragon and tore through the void, charging toward the non-human divine ancestor. Boom! The two of them clashed in the eternal dark void, causing terrifying shockwaves to erupt. Fortunately, the two of them collided in the dark void. If they were outside, it would really be destructive. Kill! The ancestral dragon roared and used all his power. Eli's huge body twisted and he charged at the non-human divine ancestor with shocking speed. The non-human divine ancestor was tall and dysprosium. His golden hair flew in the wind, and his three eyes opened and closed. He wasn't weak at all as he fought the ancestral dragon. In ancient times, they had engaged in a life-and-death battle. That battle was extremely brutal, and both of them had injured their life essence. Therefore, they knew each other's means like the back of their hands, and it was difficult to determine the winner in a short time. Ancestral dragon, you can't stop me. You've sealed the sky for countless years, but it's all for nothing. All of you will die. The non-human divine ancestor let out a long roar and exchanged hundreds of moves with the ancestral dragon in an instant. Zhu Long didn't say a word and attacked with all his strength. 23. Chapter 2548 Killing Intent arrives, Killing Heart, if you don't attack now, when will you? The voice of the non-human divine ancestor was transmitted back to the evil god world. Boom! A terrifying aura suddenly burst out of the evil god world's holy mountain, and a blood-red light pillar shot into the sky. Then, a figure appeared in the blood-red light pillar. It was a skinny old man dressed in blood-red clothes. His blood-red hair flew in the wind, and his entire body was filled with a terrifying killing intent. This killing intent seemed to want to kill all the living beings in the world. Kill, 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 kill all the living beings in the Heaven Realm. A bone-chilling voice came out of the old man's mouth. Killing intent. Zhu Long's face was ugly. With his cultivation, he could tell at a glance that, although the sacred ancestor Bloodheart had not recovered to her peak, she had already entered the martial god realm and had the battle strength of a martial god. Now that the evil god tribe had an additional martial god, who could stop them? Demigods seemed to be only one step away from the martial god realm, but their combat strength was worlds apart. Even if 10 or 20 half-gods joined forces, they would still not be a match for a martial god. Buzzwoo! Sacred ancestor Bloodheart tore the void apart and appeared on the battlefield of Two World City in the next moment. The aura from his body spread out in all directions, pressing down on everyone's hearts. It's Saint Ancestor Bloodheart. Everyone from the evil god tribe was ecstatic. On the contrary, on the side of the heaven realm, everyone's face changed dramatically. Even though many people had never heard of the sacred ancestor Bloodheart, the aura she emitted was too terrifying and simply irresistible. He was much more terrifying than a demigod. Damn it! Saint Ancestor Bloodheart has recovered. The faces of Venerable Sovereign Renegade and the others changed drastically as they cried out in alarm. Ha ha ha, you're finished. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart has recovered, and the heaven realm will be destroyed. Let's see how you guys are going to block it. The old kings of the evil god race all laughed. Kill, kill. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart shouted. His killing intent exploded and swept in all directions like a shockwave. Pft. Pft. In the heaven realm, many experts directly spat out large mouthfuls of blood. Some people directly fell down after spitting out a mouthful of blood, without a trace of breath. Kill, kill, kill. Some of them had gone crazy. They roared madly, and their eyes turned red as they charged at their comrades beside them. However, the people of the evil god tribe were completely fine. The sacred ancestor Bloodheart had only let out a roar and hadn't even attacked yet, but the heaven realm had already suffered great losses. Many people's morale was low, and they revealed terrified expressions. Some even began to retreat. After killing a large number of heaven realm beings, sacred ancestor Bloodheart took a deep breath, endless blood chi was sucked into his mouth, and his killing intent became even stronger. He looked around with his blood-red eyes, and then his eyes fell on the prison-suppressing steel. Prison-guarding old ghost, this time, I'm going to completely destroy the prison-guarding steel you left behind. Your descendants will all die and become my nourishment. A cold, ear-piercing voice rang out. Back then, Saint Ancestor Bloodheart and prison-guarding Patriarch had fought and died together. However, the sacred ancestor Bloodheart had seized the last opportunity and sent wisp of her bloodline into a human's body. She had hidden it and planned to awaken it again one day. However, the prison-guarding Patriarch had seen through his intention. He let the soul of the prison-guarding steal into the human's body and hid. It was not difficult to know that the human was Lu Ming's ancestor, an ancestor from ancient times. After a long period of time, the bloodlines of the prison-suppressing steel and the bloodline of the Saint Ancestor Bloodheart had both awakened in Lu Ming's body. However, the prison-suppressing steel still suppressed him, preventing him from devouring Lu Ming and replacing him. Therefore, the person whom sacred ancestor Bloodheart hated the most was prison-guarding Patriarch. One could imagine how he felt when he saw the prison-suppressing steel. Kill! Holy ancestor murderer rushed toward the prison-suppressing steel. His hand turned into a giant palm and slapped toward the prison-suppressing steel. Boom! The 9 prison-suppressing steels shook violently and were thrown back. The elders of the prison-suppressing field trembled and were pushed back, spitting out blood. Although Saint Ancestor Bloodheart hadn't fully recovered, he had regained the strength of a martial god, and his combat power was even higher than the giant of the sky-breaking army. He had injured more than a dozen elders of the prison suppression field with one move. After the first attack, sacred ancestor Bloodheart launched another attack. At the same time, the giant formed by the sky-breaking army also made a move. Together with the sacred ancestor Bloodheart, they were going to completely destroy the prison-suppressing steel. Get ready. An elder from the prison suppression field spoke. I was a half-god. Of course, there was more than one demigod from the prison realm. However, a few of them were fighting against the old king of the evil god race with the demigods from the heaven realm. All right. The other elders of the prison suppression field were all determined. Boom! Boom! All of a sudden, the auras of the elders from the prison suppression field became stronger. A blood-red light spread out from their bodies, as if they were burning. Then, a dozen elders of the prison-suppressing field turned into a dozen blood lights and flew into the prison-suppressing steel. The prison-guarding steels shook violently and shone brightly. In the end, the 9 pieces of prison-guarding steels merged into one, but it was 10 times larger than before. Elder. On the battlefield, many people from the prison suppression field couldn't help but cry out when they saw this. They knew that these elders were burning their own blood essence to activate the prison-suppressing steel and unleash its full power. And they themselves had completely fallen. Boom! At this moment, the giant of the sky-breaking army punched the prison-suppressing steel, but he was forced back by a powerful force. At the same time, a figure appeared on the prison-suppressing steel. It was the appearance of an old man with a sage-like demeanor and a majestic aura. The ancestor, it's the ancestor. Someone from the prison suppression field exclaimed. Many people from the prison suppression field had seen the portrait of the prison suppression patriarch. This old man looked exactly like him. Hee, prison guarding old man, you're just an immortal mark on the prison guarding steel. Today, it'll completely destroy you. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart sneered. He stepped forward and attacked the prison-suppressing steel. On the prison-suppressing steel, the prison-suppressing patriarch stepped out and charged toward Saint Ancestor Bloodheart. The two of them collided fiercely, causing a deafening boom. At the same time, the prison-suppressing steel flew towards the sky-breaking army and suppressed them. For a time, the sky-breaking army in Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart had been stopped, which greatly boosted the morale of the Heaven Realm side. You think you can stop me with just a wisp of the mark? What a joke! Saint Ancestor Bloodheart sneered. A blood-red bead appeared in his hand, emitting a strong bloody chi, and he threw it at prison suppression patriarch. In the blink of an eye, the two had exchanged dozens of moves. The prison-guarding patriarch was just a mark, and the prison-guarding steel had to deal with the sky-breaking army. He was no match for it. After dozens of moves, he was completely suppressed by Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart. If this continued, he would be defeated and killed sooner or later. Chapter 2548 Xie and the yanking strength. In the blink of an eye, another dozen moves had been exchanged. Bang! Prison guarding patriarch's imprint. Couldn't beat it, and he was sent flying by Saint Ancestor Bloodheart. His body turned illusory, as if he would fall apart at any moment. Not good. The Heaven Realm beings who witnessed all of this had extremely ugly expressions, and they revealed looks of despair. Could it be that no one could stop the Sacred Ancestor Murderheart? Was the Heaven Realm destined to be defeated and destroyed? They were unwilling, but their strength was limited. Prison guarding old ghost, completely disappear. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart roared, and his aura grew stronger as he kept attacking prison suppression patriarch. Bang! The prison guarding patriarch was hit again. His body almost fell apart, and his breath was weak. The prison guarding patriarch had no choice but to summon the prison guarding steel to resist Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart. However, this way, the sky-breaking army would have no opponents. Roar! The giant of the sky-breaking army roared and charged at the prison suppression patriarch. The seal of the prison guarding patriarch and the prison guarding steel combined to resist the giant formed by Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart and the sky-breaking army, but he was still not their match. He was completely suppressed. Boom! Boom! The prison-suppressing steel was constantly sent flying and shaking. Gotcha! A voice came from the prison-suppressing steel, which shocked everyone. The prison-suppressing steel could not hold on any longer. A crack appeared on it. Break! Break! It'll completely break you. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart sneered. Everyone in the Heaven Realm had a heavy heart. Lu Ming, the ancestral dragon, sighed. Lu Ming had not broken through successfully. Ancestral dragon, your defeat is certain. The non-human divine ancestor sneered. Lu Ming was still sitting cross-legged on the peak of the dragon's sovereign peak. The aura on his body was fluctuating as he focused on cultivation. Suddenly, a shadow flashed in the sky and a figure appeared. It was Xian Yinqing. Lu Ming, I hope you can make it in time. I will buy you some time. Xian Yinqing muttered, then turned around and disappeared. On the battlefield of Two World City, Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart and the Sky-Breaking Army worked together. The prison-suppressing steel was hit a few more times, and more cracks appeared on it. The prison-suppressing steel had been damaged and was weaker. It couldn't withstand the attacks of Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart and the Sky-Breaking Army. Shatter, shatter for me. Prison-guarding old man, I will make the only evidence that you have left in this world disappear. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart laughed. His body was covered in blood-red light, which turned into blood-red sword light and kept slashing at the prison-suppressing steel. At the same time, Bee controlled the blood bead to burst out with rays of blood light with amazing power. However, at this moment, endless black light suddenly appeared above her head and turned into a huge black lotus, which pressed down on her. You want to attack me? You're looking for death, Dick. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart shouted. He waved his hand, and a blood-red sword light shot out, hitting the black lotus. Boom! With a violent boom, the black lotus was sent flying, but it didn't collapse as Saint Ancestor Bloodheart had expected. The black lotus flew backward, and in the next moment, a figure appeared on the lotus. It was a young woman in a long black dress. She was unparalleled and beautiful. He blocked it. He actually blocked Saint Ancestor Bloodheart's attack. Many people were shocked. The Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart was a martial god. Even a casual strike from him was not something ordinary people could block. Even demigods would find it difficult to block. However, Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart's attack had been blocked. What? Saint Ancestor Bloodheart was also taken aback. A cold light flashed in her eyes, and her blood cheek condensed into a shocking blood sword that slashed toward the black lotus. Scatter. With a crisp sound, the black lotus flower suddenly spread out into black petals. Each petal turned into a beam of sword chi, which kept attacking Saint Ancestor Bloodheart's blood sword. Buzz. And NBSP whoosh. It was as if divine swords were colliding with each other, and the sound of swords clashing resounded through the earth. Although the black sword chi kept shattering, the blood-red sword light from Saint Ancestor Bloodheart's attack weakened a little after each black sword chi was shattered. When the last black sword chi collapsed, Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart's blood-red sword light was less than 10% of its original power, and it was easily blocked by the woman. I blocked it again. This time, the Saint Ancestor Bloodheart is serious. Many people were shocked. Who was this woman? She was so powerful that she could block Saint Ancestor Bloodheart's attack. I know. It's Sick Nianqing, Lu Ming's wife, Xian Yinqing. What? Lu Ming's wife is so powerful. Countless people were deeply shocked. Many people were aware of Lu Ming's combat strength. He was able to fight against two demigods of the non-human race. He was unparalleled and brilliant. However, his wife was even more terrifying now. She could actually fight with the Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart. This was too shocking. How is that possible? She's only a demigod. How could she have blocked Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart's attack? The number one king and the other old kings were all stunned. They could tell that Xian Yinqing was a demigod, but his combat power was far above theirs. That's right, Xian Yinqing's cultivation had reached the demigod realm. He had been on and out of the Yellow Springs Island for almost 200 years. With the help of the life fruit, Xian Yinqing had reached the demigod realm. Moreover, Xian Yinqing's combat strength was far beyond ordinary people. Back then, when Xian Yinqing was a 5-star heavenly emperor, he could already suppress a peak heavenly emperor. Now that he had become a demigod, his combat strength naturally far exceeded other demigods. They weren't the only ones who were shocked. The non-human divine ancestor and ancestral dragon were equally shocked. She's actually this strong. On the battlefield, Huang Ling and Qiu Yu looked at the magnificent Zik Nianqing and sighed. Ah, kill, kill, kill. Zik Nianqing had blocked 2 of Saint Ancestor Bloodcart's moves in a row, which further stimulated his killing intent and ruthlessness. Yi roared madly and charged towards Xian Yanqing, completely ignoring the prison-suppressing steel. The prison-suppressing steel and the giant of the heaven-breaking army were engaged in a fierce battle. Bang! Bang! Xian Yanqing exchanged a few more blows with Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart. Although Xian Yanqing was at a disadvantage and was forced to retreat, he still managed to block Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart's attack. Many people exclaimed in admiration. They knew that Xian Yanqing's battle power was truly shocking. He had already Serpa. Said the other demigods. Although he wasn't a match for Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart yet, he could already fight her. Any other demigod would have been instantly killed by Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart. Dick. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart went even crazier. He threw the blood-red bead in his hand. This blood-red bead was a weapon that Serpa. Said the Heaven Dao soldiers. It was controlled by Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart, and its power was terrifying. Break! Xian Yanqing shouted as she formed a seal with her fingers. Countless black lotus flowers appeared around her. These black lotus flowers turned into sword lights and slashed at Saint Ancestor Bloodcart. 23. Chapter 2550 Sisters joining hands. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart's pearl was as big as a mountain, and it was emitting blood-red light with terrifying power. Xian Yanqing condensed countless lotus sword chi to fight against Saint Ancestor Bloodheart, but he was still no match for her. The lotus sword chi was destroyed, and a blood-red light almost hit Xian Yanqing, forcing her low retreat. Who the hell are you? You're not from this world. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart stared at Xian Yanqing, shock flashing through her blood-red eyes. As soon as he made his move, he could feel that Xian Yanqing's cultivation technique and the power he controlled were not from this world. You don't have the right to know who I am. Xian Yanqing said coldly. No matter who you are, no one will know if I kill you in this world. Kill. The blood-red light around Saint Ancestor Bloodheart became even more intense. The blood-red light entered the blood-red bead, causing it to shake violently. Roar! Roar! A furious roar suddenly came from the blood-red bead. Then, a huge demon crawled out of the blood-red bead. This evil demon was covered in blood-red scales. It had a wide mouth and sharp fangs, and its killing intent. Soared to the sky. On his back, there was a pair of blood-red wings that covered the sky when they were spread out. Kill! The demon roared and charged at Xian Yanqing. Demons from the abyss, they're just inferior demons. Xian Yanqing said coldly. A cold sword light appeared around him and attacked the blood-red demon. Roar! The demon roared and lapped its wings. A gust of wind swept towards Xian Yanqing. On the other side, Saint Ancestor Bloodheart also attacked. A blood-red sword light formed and slashed at Zik Nianqing. Facing the attacks from both sides, Xian Yanqing was even more vulnerable. Her sword light was quickly destroyed. Bang! Saint Ancestor Bloodheart's blood-red sword light slashed at Xian Yanqing. Although Xian Yanqing managed to form a black lotus to protect himself in time, he was still sent flying. His body trembled, and blood seeped out of the corner of his mouth. Ancestral Dragon, you have no hope. If you don't become a martial god, it's all for nothing. In the dark void, the non-human divine ancestor sneered coldly. He and the ancestral dragon were locked in a fierce battle, and it was difficult to determine a winner in a short time. Zhu Long's face didn't look good. He didn't say anything and just kept attacking. As for the prison-suppressing steel, because it had been severely injured before, it could only fight against the heaven-breaking army now. Die. I don't care who you are. If you go against me, you must die. Divine Ancestor Starkiller laughed and controlled the blood-red demon to attack Xian Yanqing. However, at this moment, the void split open, and a milky white sword light slashed toward the evil demon. This sword light was filled with holy light and had extremely shocking power. The evil demon was careless and was cut by the sword light, and one of its wings was directly cut off. The demon roared. The place where he had been cut off kept emitting burning sounds. It seemed that the sword light had a restraining effect on him. Holy light. Damn it, what's going on? Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart was furious. He's just a low-level evil demon. If it was before, I could turn him into ashes with a breath. A cold and arrogant voice was heard. Then, a figure suddenly appeared in the void. It was a beautiful woman in a white dress. She looked exactly like Zik Nianqing. Xian Yanjuan. You guys. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart looked at Xian Yanjuan, then at Xian Yanqing, and the surprise in his eyes deepened. I didn't expect that you would be able to advance to the demigod realm so quickly after devouring the memories of your previous life. You've surprised me. Xian Yanjuan didn't look at Holy Ancestor Bloodheart. Instead, he looked at Zik Nianning and transmitted his voice. I won't be left behind by you. I won't let you do that thing alone. Xian Yanqing replied. Oh, really? You're pretty confident, aren't you? But let's deal with this guy first. Xian Yanjuan chuckled, and a milky white holy light radiated from his body, as if a goddess had descended to the world. Holy and pure. Kill, I don't care how many of you come, I'll kill you all. Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart roared as he controlled the demon and himself to attack Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan. Slash! Xian Yanjuan pressed her hand down, and countless white lotus flowers appeared in the air. They turned into sword chi and slashed at Saint Ancestor Bloodheart. She was also a demigod and her combat strength was no weaker than Xian Yanqing's. Moreover, her attack style was very similar to Xian Yanqing's. When Xian Yanjuan made his move, Xian Yanqing also made his move. The two of them joined forces to light against Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart. Boom! 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 The battle in the air was intense. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart was being held back by Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan. For a moment, the two sides were evenly matched. I blocked it. And NBSP countless people on the battlefield were shocked by this scene. However, both of them had different thoughts. And NBSP the evil god race was shocked, and unable to accept this. On the other hand, the Heaven Realm side was ecstatic. I didn't expect that there would be such an expert in the Heaven Realm. Good. Venerable Sovereign Rebellion laughed, while the number one king's face was extremely ugly. Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan were far more powerful than ordinary demigods, and they were able to resist Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart together. This kind of strength was too terrifying. In the Heaven Realm, it could be said that he was the strongest expert after the Ancestral Dragon. However, they had never heard of him before. However, it didn't matter. As long as it was from the Heaven Realm, it was line. Moke, it seems that things are not under your control. Zhu Long also laughed out loud. This was an unexpected surprise. Initially, he had pinned all his hopes on Lu Ming. He had never expected that there would be two such powerhouses in the Heaven Realm. As long as they could hold off the Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart and wait for Lu Ming to make a breakthrough, they would have a greater chance of winning. The evil god world and the heavenly realm had been at war for countless years, and it was possible that it would be broken. Damn it, how is this possible? The outsider Sacred Ancestor roared, his heart filled with shock. How could there be two such experts in the heaven realm? They looked like sisters, but their combat strength was so strong. In the past, there was no news at all. It was as if they had appeared out of thin air. Lu Ming's wife. It's Lu Ming again. The non-human divine ancestor was furious. The battle on the battlefield had entered a stalemate. The difference in strength between the two sides was not big, and the battle was brutal. People were dying at every moment. On the sinkhole battlefield, the Tan Longhorn and company were fighting non-human kings, but I was difficult to determine a victor. Suppress it for this lord. Dandan transformed into her true form, and she was extremely huge. Countless symbols filled the air, and her battle power was shocking. She fought two non-human kings by herself, and she wasn't at a disadvantage at all. In fact, she even had a slight advantage. I didn't expect this old turtle to be so strong after breaking through to the demigod realm. Not far away, the Tan Longhorn beetle thought unhappily. Lu Ming had been cultivating at the Dragon Sovereign Peak. Boom! Suddenly, a shocking aura surged from Lu Ming's body. He opened his eyes. Chapter 2551 Piercing through the heavenly Tao. The aura on Lu Ming's body soared to the sky like a long spear that was about to pierce through the heavens and earth. Break, break! Lu Ming shouted. His entire body emitted a dazzling purple-gold radiance as he tried to break free from the restraints and break through to the celestial arch realm. However, just as Lu Ming's aura burst out, a seven-colored glow suddenly appeared in his surroundings within a radius of 1,000,000 miles. The multicolored light enveloped Lu Ming, forming a terrifying pressure that pressed down on him and bound him. This was the power of the heavenly Tao. The heavenly Tao wanted to stop Lu Ming from breaking through. The Tao of domination was too terrifying. It should not have appeared in places like the heaven realm and the evil god realm. That was because once one stepped into the heavenly emperor realm with the Tao of domination, one would be able to dominate the heavens and earth, even the heavenly Tao. This was something the heavenly Tao would not allow. It had to stop it. The terrifying pressure continued to press down on Lu Ming. It even formed invisible chains that wrapped around Lu Ming. Break, break! Lu Ming shouted loudly and exerted all his strength to struggle. Bang! 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 The invisible chains on Lu Ming's body were breaking apart continuously. However, after it shattered, more chains appeared. Buzz! Lu Ming's muscles and bones vibrated rapidly at a frequency of more than 50 billion times per second. Such a violent vibration produced a terrifying power that shattered the invisible chains that wrapped around him. At the same time, Lu Ming condensed a long spear in his hand with his ruler's power. Buzz! The long spear vibrated and swept in all directions. Lu Ming wanted to break the restraints of the heavenly Tao. Whoosh! 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 Rays of spear radiance shot up into the sky and spread in all directions. From a distance, one could only see countless spear radiance piercing holes in the sky and earth. He's starting to break through. In the distant dark void, the ancestral dragon sensed it right away and revealed a look of joy. At the same time, the non-human divine ancestor also sensed it, and his face darkened. It's not that easy to break through in the heaven realm with the Tao of domination. The heavenly Tao doesn't allow it. The non-human divine ancestor said coldly. Is that so? Yes, the ancestral dragon replied. At the same time, he reached out his dragon claw and exchanged a blow with the non-human divine ancestor. On the Dragon Sovereign Peak, Lu Ming's spear radiance was getting stronger and stronger. The power of every move he executed with the battle symbol art was amplified and strengthened. The power of catch move was extremely terrifying, and it kept blasting away the power of the heavenly Tao. Not enough, it's still not enough. I must trigger the double combat strength. Lu Ming's mind was racing. With his current strength, he simply couldn't completely break free of the heavenly Dao's restraints. In this case, B simply couldn't break through. Lu Ming kept unleashing the battle formula, hoping to trigger the double combat strength. The probability of Lu Ming triggering the doubling after about 8 or 9 times, combat strength was about 1/10. All of a sudden, Lu Ming felt an endless fighting spirit burst out from his body. This fighting spirit was transformed into strength, causing Lu Ming's strength to increase greatly. The battle formula had been successfully activated. Double combat power burst forth. Buzz! The long spear in Lu Ming's hands swept out. The power of the heavenly Tao in all directions was constantly shattered. Buzz! And NBSP whoosh! Then, Lu Ming's long spear trembled. Endless spear radiance broke through the air and pierced through the void, breaking the power of the heavenly path one by one. Boom! The aura on Lu Ming's body was getting stronger. How is that possible? In the dark void, the non-human divine ancestor's eyes widened in disbelief. Lu Ming was actually going to break the restrictions of the heavenly Tao. Ha ha ha! Zhu Long laughed wildly. Murderheart, quickly get rid of those 2 women and kill Lu Ming. Something's not right. The non-human divine ancestor hurriedly sent a voice transmission to sacred ancestor Bloodheart. At this moment, the sacred ancestor Bloodheart was still locked in a fierce battle with Zik Nianqing and Zik Nianjuan. A vicious glint appeared in sacred ancestor Bloodheart's eyes when he heard the non-human sacred ancestor's voice transmission. You 2 bitches, how dare you block me? Die, die. Dick! Saint Ancestor Bloodheart roared. A terrifying aura suddenly burst out of his body, and endless blood light spread out and burned. Burn Shen power. Zhu Long was furious. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart's injuries hadn't recovered to their peak because there wasn't enough time. He might be able to in a few hundred or 1,000 years. Therefore, the strength of the sacred ancestor Bloodheart had only barely reached the martial god realm. But now, sacred ancestor Bloodheart was burning his divine power without any regard for the consequences. This way, his battle power would rise to its peak in a short time. Sacred ancestor Bloodheart burned his divine power, and his battle power skyrocketed. He slashed out 2 times in a row with shocking power. Xie Nianqing and Xie Nianjun's expressions changed as they set up layers of defense front of them. However, their defenses couldn't withstand the attack of Saint Ancestor Bloodheart at all. They were crushed and sent flying tens thousands of miles away. Their delicate bodies trembled and blood flowed from their mouths. 2 stinky women, you still want to stop me? Go to hell. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart recalled the demon. The blood-red light condensed into a sword and slashed at Xian Nianging and Xian Nianjuan. Zik Nianging and Zik Nianjuan defended with all their might. They didn't want to make any mistakes, but they wanted to avoid any. However, after recovering to her peak, sacred ancestor Bloodheart was indeed very powerful. She wasn't weaker than the ancestral dragon or the non-human sacred ancestor. Xian Nianqing and Xian Nianjuan were only demigods, so they couldn't fight against sacred ancestor Bloodheart at her peak. After a few moves, they were sent flying. The hearts of the people from the heaven realm sank. If this continued, the situation would not be good. He's burning his divine power, so he won't be able to hold on for long. As long as we can hold him off for a while, we'll have a chance of winning. Xian Nianging, do you still remember the dark holy light technique? Xian Nianjuan, send a message to Zik Nianqing. I remember. Xian Nianqing nodded. Alright, then we'll use dark holy light technique to set up a dark holy light cage and stop him for a while. Xian Nianjuan said. Xian Nianqing nodded, and the 2 of them moved almost at the same time. Instead of retreating, they advanced and charged at Saint Ancestor Bloodheart. The moment they charged out, their bodies emitted a brilliant radiance. The difference was that Xian Nianking's body was covered in endless darkness. Her body seemed to have turned into a black hole. It was so dark that her figure could not be seen at all. As for Xian Yinjuan, he was surrounded by endless white light, more dazzling than the sun in the sky. Many people couldn't open their eyes. Dark holy light technique. Two crisp sounds were heard at the same time. Instantly, endless black and white light enveloped Saint Ancestor Bloodheart. The speed of the light was unbelievably fast, and it immediately enveloped Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart. Then, the black light and the white light intertwined like silk threads, forming a cage. This was the Dark Holy Light Cage, a terrifying secret technique that could only be set up by Xian Yanqing and Xian Yinjuan together. "Break, Dick!" Saint Ancestor Bloodheart roared. The blood-red sword light cut across the void and slashed at the Dark Holy Light Cage. Boom! An earth-shattering boom was heard. However, the attack didn't break the Dark Holy Light Cage. It only made it shake violently. D23. Chapter 2551. Stepping into the Heavenly Emperor stage. Seeing that his sword attack had failed, Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart was enraged. His divine power began to burn. Although burning his Shen power like this was extremely taxing on him and would leave behind terrifying after effects, he couldn't care about it now. As long as he could level the heaven realm and successfully split open the sky, the gods from beyond the heavens would definitely bestow him with treasures. His injuries and after effects were nothing. He held a blood-red sword and slashed at the Dark Holy Light Cage. Boom! Boom! The Dark Holy Light Cage shook violently. Every time Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart's sword hit it, Zik Nianqing and Xian Nianjin's delicate bodies would tremble and their faces would turn paler. It was obvious that Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart's attack had also put a great burden on them. But they gritted their teeth and persevered. Now, it all depended on who could hold on. Whoever could hold on would be the winner. Break, break, break. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart attacked crazily, and she could unleash over 100 strikes in an instant. The two sides were in a stalemate. However, Lu Ming was progressing smoothly. He activated the doubling of his combat power, and his combat power skyrocketed. He kept bombarding the power of the Heavenly Tao, breaking the restraints of the Heavenly Tao into pieces. In the end, the spear spun and swept across the sky, completely blasting away the power of the Heavenly Tao. Boom! At that moment, the aura on Lu Ming's body exploded and rose to its peak. Break! Lu Ming let out a long howl, his long hair flying in the wind. Then, a loud boom erupted from his body. He had broken through a bottleneck. His realm had risen to a whole new level. That was the Heavenly Emperor realm. At this moment, Lu Ming seemed to be able to control and dominate everything. The entire heaven realm was under his control. The battlefield of the sinkhole and the great battle in Two World City were also under his perception. Has the final battle begun? Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. Previously, he had been cultivating with all his heart, trying to break through to the next realm. He had no other thoughts in his mind. He didn't expect that the final battle had already begun. Little Qing, Qiu Yu, Xiang Xiang. Lu Ming sensed Xian Yanqing, Lu Xiangxiang, and the rest. He was relieved to find that they were fine. Then, Lu Ming waved his hand and countless divine stones flew out. Although Lu Ming had a breakthrough in his realm, his energy had not caught up. He had to absorb a large amount of energy and transform into world energy and domination energy. Bang bang bang. Countless godstones exploded. Lu Ming did not care about wasting it now. What he wanted was to stabilize his cultivation as soon as possible and partake. IP-8 in the big battle. Hoo. Lu Ming absorbed it crazily. Endless divine qi was swallowed into his body and transformed into the power of the world and the power of domination. Lu Ming's small world was expanding crazily. Not enough, far from enough. Speed up, speed up. Lu Ming growled. In the end, he simply took out all the divine stones he had. Piles of divine stones exploded and were devoured by Lu Ming. The amount of energy Lu Ming needed to break through to the Heavenly Emperor realm was too shocking. The main thing was that a portion of the energy would be converted into ruler's power, which consumed the most energy. Before Lu Ming left, he had more than 10,000 chaos gems left. However, to Lu Ming now, these chaos gems were like a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. They were not of much use to him. Therefore, Lu Ming had given them to Lu Xiangxiang, Ouyang Moli, and Bubbles for use. Lu Ming was now using the divine stone to cultivate. Fortunately, he had obtained a large number of divine stones in the Yellow Springs world. Time continued to pass. Lu Ming's aura grew stronger and more shocking. Of course, the number of divine stones he devoured also increased. The situation at the two-world city battlefield had also entered a state of white heat. Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan tried their best to stop Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart, but the two's faces turned pale and blood kept flowing out of their mouths under her frenzied attacks. Killing Heart, it's too late. Let's end this quickly. The non-human Sacred Ancestor sent a voice transmission to Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart anxiously. He realized that Lu Ming was about to break through successfully. Damn bitches, it'll make sure you never reincarnate. Explode, explode. Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart roared and took out the blood-red bead. Endless blood-red light from his body entered the bead. Buzz. The blood-red bead trembled violently and burst out with a bright blood-red light. Not good. Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjin's expressions changed. Boom. Then, the blood-red bead exploded. This was a divine weapon that Serpa said the Heaven Dao soldiers. When it exploded, the power was unbelievably great. Endless destructive power swept in all directions and struck the dark holy light cage. In an instant, the dark holy light cage exploded. Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjin's bodies were swept away by the force and were thrown back. They spat out blood and were severely injured. Dick. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart's sights were bloodshot as he pounced at Zik Yanqing with endless killing intent. Buzz. His terrifying, withered hand reached out to grab Xian Yanqing. Xian Yanqing was severely injured and could not avoid this attack. If he was hit, he would die. At this critical moment, the SPACE in front of Zik Nyanging suddenly split open. A long spear flew out and stabbed at Saint Ancestor Bloodheart's palm. Thump. The spear hit Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart's palm with a loud boom. The spear was knocked away, but Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart was also forced back. A hole had appeared in his palm, and bloodlight was wriggling inside. His eyes were filled with shock. One had to know that he was burning his divine power and his fighting power had recovered to its peak. However, the spear had injured his palm. His blood-red eyes looked forward. In front of them, the void cracked open. A tall and slender young man in a black robe appeared behind Xian Yanqing. He wrapped his arm around Xian Yanqing's slender waist and pulled him into his arms. This young man was Lu Ming. He had refined 90% of the Godstones on him and finally stabilized his cultivation at the Heavenly Emperor realm. Just then, Saint Ancestor Bloodheart had detonated his divine weapon and destroyed Xian Yanging and Xian Yanjin's dark holy light cages. He rushed over without hesitation. With his current cultivation, he could reach Two World City in an instant from Dragon Sovereign Peak. Little Qing, are you okay? Lu Ming asked with concern. Lu Ming, you're finally here. Xian Yanqing smiled. Little Qing, take this fruit of life. A fruit of life appeared in Lu Ming's hand and he fed it to Xian Yanqing. Xian Yanqing took it and swallowed it in one gulp. His body glowed with a bright light. Life fruit, you still have King Lu Ming take out the fruit of life, Saint Ancestor Bloodheart's eyes were filled with greed. Do you want it? I have a lot of them. Lu Ming looked at Saint Ancestor Bloodheart and waved his hand. 9 life fruits appeared in his hand and one flew toward Xian Yinjuan. Xian Yinjuan caught the fruit of life without hesitation and swallowed it. Her injuries were healing rapidly. So many life fruits. Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart was shocked. Chapter 2552 Battle of Killing Intent. Lu Ming took out 9 life fruits in one go. Including the one he gave to Xian Yinqing, there were 10 in total. Not only was the Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart shocked, but the non-human Sacred Ancestor was equally shocked. He clearly remembered that there were only 18 fruits of life on the fruit tree of life. They had obtained 11. While the heaven realm had only obtained 7. Lu Ming, where did you get so many life fruits? A fortuitous encounter. Lu Ming must have had a fortuitous encounter. The non-human divine ancestor roared in jealousy. At the same time, he also thought about why the Tan longhorn beetle, 9 lives devilish silkworm, and the others' cultivation had improved so much that they had broken through to the demigod realm. Why were the injuries of Venerable Sovereign Rebellion and the others all recovered to their peak? It must be the fruit of life. The non-human divine ancestor was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. He had worked hard and only obtained 11 fruits of life, which were only enough for him and the Bloodheart Saint Patriarch. He was extremely depressed at the thought of Lu Ming obtaining a large number of fruits of life and greatly increasing the strength of the heaven realm. As for Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart, he was first shocked at the sight of so many life fruits, but then he became deeply greedy. And NBSP his injuries had not fully healed, and now that he was burning his Shen power, he had used up a lot of his energy, adding more injuries to his own. If he could obtain so many life fruits, he would be able to quickly recover. Give me the life fruit. Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart roared. Give it to you. Come and get it yourself. Lu Ming kept the life fruit and held the Great Desolation Spear in his hand. His aura was getting stronger and stronger. Lu Ming, I didn't devour you. Now, I'll completely destroy you, die. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart roared. He turned into a beam of blood-red light and charged at Lu Ming. Boom! A bright purple-gold light rose from Lu Ming's body. The world energy and the ruler's energy in his body circulated wildly. Then, he thrust his spear forward. The Great Desolation Spear quickly turned into a spear radiance and stabbed at Saint Ancestor Bloodheart. Thump! The two of them exchanged a blow, creating a terrifying shock wave that spread in all directions. The void was completely shattered. The blood-red light shattered, and Saint Ancestor Bloodheart retreated. Lu Ming also retracted his spear. What? In a head-on battle, Lu Ming blocked the attack of the Killing Heart's divine ancestor. Heavens, what did I just see? Did Lu Ming become a god? How did this happen? At this moment, be it the heaven realm or the evil god race, everyone was deeply shocked and stunned. Lu Ming was able to fight a martial god head-on. This was too shocking. The difference was that after the evil god tribe's initial shock, they were filled with endless fear. After the heaven realm side recovered from their shock, they were overjoyed. Ha ha ha. Mo, this time around, it's your evil god race that should be exterminated. The ancestral dragon laughed out loud. How is this possible? This is impossible. The non-human divine ancestor's mind was chaos. He simply couldn't accept this. He had planned for countless years and worked hard for countless years, but in the end, this was the result he got. He really couldn't bear it. If Lu Ming could fight against the Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart, it would be very disadvantageous to them. There were still Xian Yinqing and Xian Yinjuan in the heavenly realm. Killing Heart, is this all you've got? Then today, the person I'm going to exterminate is you. Lu Ming waved his long spear and took a step forward. His figure was like a stream of light as he charged toward Saint Ancestor Bloodheart. Blood Sea Sword Skill, Die. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart roared. A blood sea appeared behind him, an endless blood-red sword light flew out of the blood sea and slashed at Lu Ming, my lord. Lu Ming cast the ruler's power and dominated the world. The ruler's power acted on the blood-red sword light, and the direction of the blood-red sword light immediately changed slightly. It did not stab Lu Ming at all and all flew past him. In an instant, Lu Ming approached Holy Ancestor Bloodheart and swept his spear out. The spear light was millions of miles long and it struck the blood sea. The blood sea collapsed, and Saint Ancestor Bloodheart retreated. Whoosh! Whoosh! The great desolation spear continued to pierce through the void, shattering it. Lu Ming and the Killing Heart Saint Ancestor fought their way into the dark void. Now that Lu Ming had broken through to the Heavenly Emperor realm, his combat strength had increased greatly. When all aspects were combined, he could be compared to a martial god and was no weaker than the ancestral dragon, the divine ancestor of the non-human race at his peak. This was under the condition that Lu Ming had not triggered the double combat strength. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming and Saint Ancestor Bloodheart fought their way into the dark void. They exchanged several moves in a row, causing the dark void to tumble continuously. The double combat strength of the battle character formula had ended after Lu Ming broke through to the celestial Arch realm. Therefore, Lu Ming was only in his normal state and not in the state of doubling his combat strength. Lu Ming circulated the way of domination to the extreme. The power of the world and the power of domination howled in his body. The Dominator's power in Lu Ming's body had already occupied more than half of the total power. This was also the key to Lu Ming's ability to fight against the martial god. In the future, as Lu Ming's cultivation level increased, the proportion of the ruler's energy would also increase. Lu Ming estimated that when he cultivated to the peak of the Heavenly Emperor realm, all the world energy in his body would be transformed into the ruler's energy. At the same time, Lu Ming cast the battle symbol art. Although it did not trigger the double combat power, with the enhancement of the battle symbol art, Lu Ming's every move was astonishingly powerful. He was evenly matched with the Saint Ancestor Bloodheart at his peak. In fact, Lu Ming was even slightly better. After Lu Ming and Saint Ancestor Bloodheart entered the dark void, Zik Nyanging and Zik Nianjuan had almost recovered from their injuries with the help of the fruits of life. Xie Nianking's eyes were cold as he scanned the crowd. Black lotuses appeared around him and turned into sword chi that flew towards the giant. The giants of the sky-breaking army were still fighting fiercely with the prison-suppressing steel. However, the trace of the prison-guarding patriarch Skal in the prison-guarding steel had limited energy. After fighting for so long, it was almost unable to hold on. It was the perfect time for Xie Nianqing to make his move. Roar! The giant of the sky-breaking army reached out with a huge hand and attacked Xie Nianqing's sword chi. Bang! Bang! A series of clashing sounds rang out, and the heaven-crushing army's giant body trembled violently as it retreated continuously. The ground beneath its feet continued to crack, and in a moment of carelessness, it crushed a few hundred evil god tribesmen who were unable to retreat in time. Xie Nianqing was able to fight with the martial god, sacred ancestor Bloodheart, and his strength was above the sky-breaking army. Slash! Zik Nianqing shouted coldly. With a wave of his hand, the endless sword light gathered into a huge black sword chi, which once again slashed at the giant formed by the sky-breaking army. The giant raised his fist to block, but this time, his fist was directly cut in half by the sword light. Within the list, many of the sky-breaking army's experts exploded and died. In an instant, hundreds of heaven-crushing army experts were killed, including more than a dozen heavenly computers. The giant of the sky-breaking army retreated. However, at this moment, a milky white sword radiance slashed down from the sky. Xian Yinjuan made his move. Pft! The head of the sky-breaking army giant was cut off, and another few hundred of the sky-breaking army fell. As a result, the giant formed by the sky-breaking army directly collapsed. The formation was broken. 22. Chapter 2554 Suppression. With the formation of the sky-breaking army broken, it was difficult for them to gather their power together, and their fighting strength was greatly reduced. Nearly 100,000 people retreated in a frenzy, their hearts filled with shock. Their heaven-crushing army had formed a great formation and was invincible. Other than the martial god, they feared no one. However, they were defeated by Xian Yanqing and Xian Yinjuan in just a few moves. Don't panic. Gather and set up the formation. The commander of the sky-breaking army roared. He was a hull god, and he wanted to gather the sky-breaking army again to form a formation to fight against Zik Nianqing and the others. However, as soon as he finished speaking, 5 black lotus flowers appeared around him. Whoosh! 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 The lotus spun, and its petals turned into sharp sword qi, flying toward him. The sky-breaking army's commander's expression changed as he swung his axe to block. After a series of clashing sounds, the heaven-crushing army's commander's body trembled violently. The Heaven Dao soldier's battle axe in his hand was chipped, and his chest had been pierced through by a sword qi. He was severely injured and spat out a large mouthful of blood. His eyes were filled with shock. How could he be so strong? He was extremely frightened. After all, he was a demigod and was known as an unrivaled master. However, he was severely injured after exchanging a single blow with Xian Yanqing. Buzz sent. The next moment, Xian Yanging appeared beside him. Not good. The heaven-crushing army's commander was shocked and quickly retreated, but it was too late. A sword light flashed, and his head flew high into the air. In a battle of the same level, he had no way of fighting back against Xian Yanqing. Kill! Xian Yanqing's eyes were cold and merciless. With a wave of his hand, endless sword qi rushed towards the heaven-breaking army. The sky-breaking army originally had 100,000 overlords, 5,000 heavenly emperors, and 95,000 great emperors. However, they were now vulnerable to Xian Yanqing. Wherever the sword qi pa s said, the sky-breaking army's experts were pierced through and killed. No matter if it was a heavenly emperor or a great emperor, it was the same. Even a peak heavenly emperor couldn't block Xian Yanqing's attack. At the same time, Zik Nianjuan also made his move. His attack style was very similar to Zik Nianqing's. Wherever the milky white sword light pa s said, a large number of sky-breaking army masters were killed. It was a one-sided ma.'s saker, like harvesting wheat. The experts of the sky-breaking army were all killed. No, damn it. No. The number 1 king of the non-human race, the older kings, felt their hearts bleed. The heaven-crushing army was the strongest army of the evil god race. So many powerful beings had died just like that. At the same time, they were extremely frightened. Xian Yanqing and Xian Yinjuan were simply unstoppable. After they finished killing the sky-breaking army, wouldn't it be their turn? They had seen how the demigod had been killed by Xian Yanqing in seconds. If it were them, it wouldn't be much different. Divine Ancestor, what should we do? The number 1 king roared, and his voice traveled through the dark void toward the non-human Divine Ancestor. Retreat. Form a large formation and defend with all your might. The non-human Divine Ancestor SCNT. The non-human Divine Ancestor was also furious. He had never expected the battle to turn out like this. Before the battle, he was full of confidence. On the surface, the evil god tribe side had the upper hand, be it the low-end, mid-level, or high-end combat forces. Moreover, the martial god realm had him and the sacred ancestor Bloodheart. As long as they made a move, the scene would definitely be one-sided. They would definitely be able to flatten the heaven realm. However, after the battle, everything was beyond his expectations. In the beginning, the T-10 longhorn beetle, the 9 lives devilish silkworm, and the divine turtle of the world had appeared one after another. They had all broken through to the demigod realm and held back a portion of their strength. After that, Venerable Sovereign Rebellion and the others actually recovered from their injuries. What was even more unexpected was that Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan seemed to have appeared out of thin air and held Saint Ancestor Bloodheart back until Lu Ming broke through. La Ming, it's all Lu Ming. The non-human divine ancestor roared in his heart. All of this was because of Lu Ming. He had taken out a large number of life fruits, the T-10 longhorn, the 9 lives devilish silkworm, and the others to break through. Venerable Sovereign Rebellion and the others had only recovered because of Lu Ming's fruit of life. In fact, Xian Yanqing was Lu Ming's wife. Lu Ming was the reason why the situation had developed to this point. Now, they could only defend and hold their ground. They would only have a chance to turn the tables when Saint Patriarch Murderheart killed Lu Ming or the ancestral dragon. At the thought of this, he could not help but look at the place where Lu Ming and the sacred ancestor Bloodheart were fighting. His pupils constricted at first glance. At this moment, Lu Ming had completely gained the upper hand and suppressed Saint Ancestor Bloodheart. Lu Ming and the sacred ancestor Bloodheart had already exchanged hundreds of moves in the dark void. Lu Ming did not activate the battle formula to double his combat strength. He was only fighting with Saint Patriarch Murderheart in his normal state. However, Lu Ming's courage mounted as the battle progressed. Previously, he had just broken through and was not very familiar with the use of his strength. However, after the battle, he was able to use the sudden surge in strength with ease. In addition, the battle symbol art was truly wondrous. When used, no matter what attack it would greatly increase one's combat power. In addition, Saint Ancestor Bloodheart burned his divine power. The longer the battle went on, the weaker he would be. Thus, Lu Ming had the upper hand. Whoosh! Whoosh! The great desolation spear in Lu Ming's hand danced like a real dragon, and spearlight shot toward Saint Ancestor Bloodheart. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart retreated continuously, and it was getting more and more difficult for him to resist. PM. Lu Ming's spear had pierced through Saint Ancestor Bloodheart's body, but he was trying his best to recover. The wound was wriggling with blood light, trying to heal. However, at this moment, his expression suddenly changed. Then, the aura on his body rapidly weakened. He had not recovered from his injuries and had not returned to his peak condition. He had burned his Shen power to reach his peak condition, which was difficult to maintain for a long time. Now, his divine power was almost exhausted, and his condition was rapidly declining. How could Lu Ming miss this opportunity? His eyes turned cold and he struck down with the great desolation scar, bang. Sacred Ancestor Sacred Heart was sent flying. His body was almost cut in half. He spat out a few mouthfuls of blood and his aura became even more dispirited. Die! Lu Ming took a step forward and caught up with Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart. The great desolation spear shook and was covered with the brilliant power of the Dominator. It charged toward Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart, intending to destroy him completely. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart retreated frantically, but he still couldn't dodge Lu Ming's attack. His body was smashed into pieces, turning into a sea of blood. Refine! Lu Ming stretched out his palms. The purple-gold Dominator's power transformed into 2 huge palms. They closed and enveloped the blood sea in the center of the palms. Lu Ming wanted to use the power of a ruler to completely refine the Holy Ancestor Bloodheart. No, no, Moke, come and save me, no. Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart shouted in horror. He tried to break out of the ruler power's encirclement, but he couldn't. Lu Ming, the non-human divine ancestor roared. His golden hair flew in the wind as he used all his strength to exchange a few blows with the ancestral dragon. He seized the opportunity and rushed toward Lu Ming. Chapter 2554 Killing the martial god. The non-human divine ancestor used all his strength and finally seized the opportunity to break free from the ancestral dragon's obstruction and charge toward Lu Ming. Boom! The non-human divine ancestor threw a punch. A golden fist crossed the boundless void and headed toward Lu Ming with overwhelming power. Lu Ming's expression changed slightly. He shook the great desolation spear and thrust it out. As soon as he thrust his spear, the non-human divine ancestor's fist arrived and collided with Lu Ming's spear radiance. With a deafening boom, the great desolation spear shook continuously. A terrifying force was transmitted, causing Lu Ming to take a few steps back. A divine artifact. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. The non-human divine ancestor was wearing a golden glove on his fist. It was obvious that this pair of gloves was a divine weapon, a weapon specially used by the martial god, and it was extremely powerful. Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart's divine weapon had self-destructed, but the non-human divine ancestor's was still there. Thus, his battle power was slightly stronger than Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart's, who had burned his divine power. Kill! The non-human divine ancestor bellowed. His fists were like two golden suns as he punched toward Lu Ming. Moke, your opponent. Now that the ancestral dragon had arrived, he would not allow the divine ancestor to attack Lu Ming. I'll stepped out with his dragon claws and fought the divine ancestor. At the same time, a dragon horn floated above the ancestral dragon's head. It kept slashing out like a saber. It was also a divine weapon. The ancestral dragon's combat power wasn't any weaker than the non-human divine ancestor's. He couldn't take it lightly and had to fight the ancestral dragon with all his might. Boom! Room! The non-human divine ancestor exchanged a few more blows with the ancestral dragon, while Lu Ming seized the opportunity to continue refining Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart kept erupting, trying to break through Lu Ming's defense. Moke, save me, save me! Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart roared. The non-human divine ancestor's face was extremely cold. He exchanged a few blows with the ancestral dragon in a frenzy. He gritted his teeth and suddenly changed his move. He risked taking a blow from the ancestral dragon and then rushed toward Lu Ming. Buzz! In the blink of an eye, the non-human divine ancestor closed in on Lu Ming and threw hundreds of punches. Lu Ming waved the great desolation spear to block it. The non-human divine ancestor's strength was indeed astonishing after hundreds of collisions. Lu Ming had to resist the non-human divine ancestor and ultimately didn't have the extra energy to refine the Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart. As a result, the Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart managed to escape. Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart escaped and regrouped with the non-human Sacred Ancestor. Let's go, let's retreat. The non-human divine ancestor said. Right now, they were at a complete disadvantage. They could only retreat and make plans later. If you want to leave, then stay. The ancestral dragon's horn was like a heavenly blade that kept slashing at the non-human divine ancestor. The non-human divine ancestor had to focus when facing the ancestral dragon's attack. Buzz! And NBSP whoosh! Lu Ming also brandished his spear, and the dazzling spear light enveloped the non-human divine ancestor and the murderous heart divine ancestor. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart's combat strength had declined, and he was no longer a match for Lu Ming and the others. He could only resist with the help of the non-human divine ancestor. At this moment, the non-human divine ancestor had to face the ancestral dragon and defend against Lu Ming's attacks at the same time. He was at a disadvantage. Battle Symbol Art. In the process of the battle, Lu Ming constantly activated the battle formula in an attempt to double his combat power. The two sides exchanged dozens of blows in a row, and the non-human divine ancestor and the sacred ancestor Bloodheart were forced to retreat. Boom! All of a sudden, there seemed to be an explosion in Lu Ming's body. The double combat power of the battle character formula was triggered, and Lu Ming's combat strength skyrocketed. Buck! Calm! The non-human divine ancestor hurriedly blocked the spear light with his fists. Boom! This time, the non-human divine ancestor was sent flying by Lu Ming, his body trembled and he spat out a mouthful of blood. How is this possible? The non-human divine ancestor roared in his heart. This was simply unbelievable. At this stage of the battle, Lu Ming could actually erupt with even stronger combat strength. Moreover, I was a huge increase and he had completely suppressed him. As soon as the non-human divine ancestor retreated, sacred ancestor Bloodheart was exposed. Kill! Lu Ming let out a long roar. The great desolation spear turned into a pillar that held up the sky and smashed toward Saint Ancestor Bloodheart. Saint Ancestor Bloodheart turned into a sea of blood, rolling wildly. He wanted to dodge, but he couldn't. At this moment, Lu Ming had activated the double combat power of the battle character formula. Under the pressure of the great desolation spear, the sea of blood formed by Saint Ancestor Bloodheart was directly split in half. A terrifying destructive power burst out of the great desolation spear. The sea of blood formed by Saint Ancestor Bloodheart kept shattering and turning into small pieces. Refine. Then, Lu Ming used his ruler's power to envelop the small pieces of the sea of blood and began to refine them. Chi chi chi. Green smoke filled the air as sacred ancestor Bloodheart's blood sea was refined at an extremely fast speed. Moke, save me, he cried. Sacred ancestor Bloodheart was still calling for help. Murderer Xian, go in peace. Mo Cook can't save you. The ancestral dragon said coldly as he charged toward the non-human divine ancestor. At this moment, the non-human divine ancestor's face was dark, and there was madness in the depths of his eyes. He didn't fight the ancestral dragon. Instead, he turned and rushed to the other side. That was the direction of the Tai Ching heavenly region. Not good. The ancestral dragon seemed to have thought of something, and his face changed drastically as he chased after the non-human divine ancestor. Lu Ming, hurry up and chase after her. We can't let Moke reach the Tai Ching heavenly region, the ancestral dragon's voice came. He seemed to be very anxious. Kill! Lu Ming waved his hands and endless spear radiance appeared out of thin air, lacking the remaining blood SCA. No, die! Sacred ancestor Bloodheart roared. Then, endless spear radiance descended and tore apart the sea of blood. It then dissipated under the refinement of the ruler's power. In an instant, Saint Ancestor Bloodheart had completely disappeared. Not a single trace was left behind. This time, Sacred Ancestor Bloodheart had been completely annihilated. There was no chance of her being resurrected. A martial god had been completely killed by Lu Ming. After completely annihilating the sacred ancestor Bloodheart, Lu Ming sped up to the maximum and chased after the ancestral dragon and the non-human divine ancestor. All of this took time to describe, but it actually happened in an instant. However, the divine ancestor of the non-human race had already reached the Tai Ching heavenly domain and arrived next to the lair of Zulong. Moke. The ancestral dragon roared and spat out a destructive light beam toward the non-human divine ancestor. However, the non-human divine ancestor's eyes were filled with madness. Al didn't care about the ancestral dragon's attack and punched out. The terrifying power directly shattered the SPCE within a radius of 10 million miles. Through the SPCE, one could clearly see the appearance of a small world. This small world was the lair of Zulong. The non-human divine ancestor's terrifying punch landed on the lair of Zulong. The lair of Zulong was like a balloon that exploded with a punch from the non-human divine ancestor. After the lair of Zulong was blown up, the void suddenly filled with a dazzling golden radiance. From afar, Lu Ming could see a huge and boundless sigil covering the sky. Lu Ming's pupils constricted in shock. He had never expected that there would be such a huge sigil behind the lair of Zulong. Heaven-suppressing seal. Ancestral dragon, you're delusional to seal the sky. Today, I'll tear the seal apart and bury all of you with me. The non-human divine ancestor roared as his entire body seemed to be on fire. He transformed into a divine sword and charged toward the seal. Chapter 2556 Non-Human Divine Ancestor Falls, Damn it. The ancestral dragon's face changed. He controlled the dragon horn and slashed at the non-human divine ancestor while shouting, Lu Ming, quick, stop him. The ancestral dragon's voice was filled with panic. Although Lu Ming was puzzled, he knew that the golden sigil was most likely of great importance. Otherwise, the ancestral dragon would not have lost his composure. Lu Ming pushed his speed to the maximum. At the same time, he exerted all his strength to throw the great Desolation Spear. Whoosh! Lu Ming's combat power was doubled, so he was extremely powerful. The great Desolation Spear turned into a bolt of lightning and flashed toward the non-human divine ancestor. However, the divine ancestor didn't care about the ancestral dragons and Lu Ming's attacks. All he could see was the golden seal. Boom! The non-human divine ancestor slashed at the golden seal like a sword. The golden seal shook violently and exploded with dazzling light. Selah. Like a piece of cloth being torn apart, a huge hole was torn on the golden seal. At that moment, the attacks of the ancestral dragon and Lu Ming arrived. Pft! Piffed! The dragon horn controlled by the ancestral dragon hit the back of the non-human divine ancestor, almost cutting him in half. At the same time, Lu Ming's great Desolation Spear stabbed the non-human divine ancestor from the back to the front. The non-human divine ancestor had been severely injured, and his aura was extremely weak. However, his face was filled with madness. Ha ha ha, the heaven-suppressing scowl has been torn apart, and the experts from the outside world are coming. Ancestral dragon, what's the point of sealing the sky? You're still going to die, all of you. Ha ha ha. The non-human divine ancestor laughed maniacally. Al didn't try to hide his voice, and it echoed throughout the entire heavenly realm. On the battlefield of the ruins of End and the battlefield of Two World City, everyone's expression changed when they heard this voice. They were all shocked. The faces of the evil god tribe members were especially pale. It was obvious that the non-human divine ancestor had lost. How did this happen? All the members of the evil god race found hard to believe and accept. If the divine ancestor had lost, then they would lose for sure. Retreat, retreat. All of a sudden, the evil god tribe's morale was completely destroyed, and they retreated frantically. Kill. The people from the heaven realm went on a killing spree. They didn't understand what the non-human divine ancestor meant, but they knew that the non-human divine ancestor had lost. Therefore, their morale was greatly boosted, and they were completely chasing after the evil god tribe. Moke, you crazy. The ancestral dragon roared and charged at the non-human divine ancestor. I'm crazy. The ones who are crazy are you and that old fellow Jinyu. Both of you are stubborn and overconfident. The non-human divine ancestor laughed bitterly and used his remaining power to attack the golden scowl. He was going all out. When he saw Lu Ming's combat strength increase and sacred ancestor Bloodheart killed, he knew that he would not be able to survive. Lu Ming and the ancestral dragon had joined forces. He would definitely die. That was why he had attacked the golden sigil crazily. His original plan was to flatten the heaven realm and kill the ancestral dragon before slowly tearing the golden scowl. This time, he didn't succeed and was stopped by the ancestral dragon. At the same time, Lu Ming had arrived and joined forces to attack the non-human divine ancestor. The non-human divine ancestor had just been severely injured by the two of them and was extremely weak. He wasn't their match at all. After a few moves, Lu Ming punched a hole through the divine ancestor's body and he was torn apart by Zulong's dragon claws. Ancestral dragon, they'll be waiting for you below. The non-human divine ancestor laughed before the ancestral dragon controlled his horn to split his head in half. Thus, the non-human divine ancestor and the sacred ancestor Bloodheart had been completely annihilated. It was supposed to be a huge victory, but there was no joy on the ancestral dragon's face. Instead, he looked a little dejected. AI. Looking at the torn golden seal, the ancestral dragon sighed helplessly. Senior, this is, Lu Ming was filled with doubts and was about to ask. Boom. At this moment, an extremely terrifying aura came from the crack in the golden scowl. Even with Lu Ming's current cultivation base, he felt frightened and could not resist this aura. Zulong and Lu Ming retreated rapidly. What's that? At that moment, Lu Ming's eyes suddenly widened in shock. That was because there were two balls of light behind the crack. They seemed to be a pair of eyes, and they were bright and terrifying. Lu Ming's heart beat faster as he faced the two light orbs. It was as if he was an ant facing a giant beast from the ancient times. I've been discovered. A great calamity will soon befall us. Zulong sighed. However, the two balls of light flickered a few times and disappeared. Senior, what is that? Lu Ming asked. The powerful beings outside have their eyes on this place. However, they won't be able to enter for the time being. Let's go and exterminate the remaining Kvil God tribe members first before we talk about this in detail. Zulong said. All right. Lu Ming nodded. Although he was curious, he was not in a hurry. He took a step forward and charged toward the battlefield in Two Work City. As for the ancestral dragon, he headed towards the battlefield of the ultimate. At this moment, the evil god tribe's sky-breaking army had almost been completely annihilated by Zik Nianqing and Xian Yanjuan. All 100,000 powerhouses had fallen. The evil god tribe was completely one-sided. They knew that the non-human divine ancestor was finished. They didn't have the courage to fight anymore. It wasn't just the ordinary experts that were fleeing. Even the celestial, the arch and demigods were fleeing. First, you escaped so quickly. If you have the ability, let's fight to the death. Venerable Sovereign Renegade was right behind the number one king. The number one king's face was gloomy. He didn't say a word and madly tore open SPCE to escape. The other non-human demigods were the same. Whoosh! Suddenly, a black sword light flashed, and a non-human demigod nearby was killed. Then, a figure appeared. It was Xian Yanqing. Xian Yanqing's eyes were cold as he looked at the number one king. The number one king's face was as white as snow. Xian Yanqing's combat power was too strong. He was no match for him. If he was targeted, he would die. Rebellion, if you're going to die, then die together. All of a sudden, the number one king revealed a ferocious look. He did not run away, instead, he rushed toward Venerable Sovereign Enlil. His body burst with terrifying fluctuations. Self-destruct. Venerable Sovereign Renegade's expression changed drastically. The number one king knew that he couldn't escape, so he decided to risk everything and die with Venerable Sovereign Renegade. His strength was similar to that of Venerable Sovereign Renegade. If he chose to self-destruct, Venerable Sovereign Renegade would most likely die as well. Venerable Sovereign Rebellion retreated frantically, but he couldn't do so at the moment. At this moment, a purple gold hand suddenly appeared and grabbed at the number one king. Ah! The number one king roared. He wanted to self-destruct, but it was too late. He was directly caught by the purple gold hand. With a squeeze, the number one king died on the spot. Then, a figure flashed and Lu Ming appeared. Is this the combat strength of a martial god? Venerable Sovereign Rebellion was shocked. The number one king, who was not weaker than him, self-destructed with all his might. However, in Lu Ming's hands, he could not even self-destruct. He was like an ant that was crushed to death. In 23. Chapter 2557 Great Victory, Greater Crisis. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing looked at each other and smiled. Then, they tore the void apart and left. Escape, escape, escape. A few non-human kings were fleeing in a frenzy. However, a figure suddenly appeared in front of them. He's the one. When the kings saw this figure, their expressions changed drastically. This figure was naturally Lu Ming. Lu Ming's appearance here meant that the divine ancestor of the non-human race was in grave danger. Everyone, he'll send you on your way. Lu Ming said coldly. Then, he waved his hand and a spear radiance burst out. A few old kings of the non-human race wanted to escape, but they could not withstand a single blow from Lu Ming. Pft! 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 A few old kings were pierced by Lu Ming's spear radiance and died on the spot. Lu Ming did not stop after killing a few of the old kings. He tore through the void and left. He specialized in hunting non-human experts above peak Heavenly Emperor because they could tear the void apart and travel through different worlds. It was very difficult to pursue them. However, in Lu Ming's hands, these people could not escape. Lu Ming kept shuttling through the void, killing the alien race's powerhouses who were at the peak of the Heavenly Emperor realm and above. As a result, the experts in the Heaven realm were free to join the army of the Heaven realm and pursue the alien races. One-sided, it had become completely one-sided. When the Heaven realm's peak experts and demigods entered the battlefield, it became a complete massacre. A large number of foreign heavenly emperors, great emperors, true emperors, void emperors, and quasi-emperors were slaughtered. This massacre continued for several days. Almost all the great beings of the other races had been slaughtered, and almost none of them had escaped back to the evil god world. A great victory, a true great victory. After that, the demigods from the Heaven realm, peak heavenly emperors, charged straight to the evil god tribe and razed the evil god realm's 10 great imperial cities and holy mountains. They slaughtered all the experts above the martial emperor realm. When facing the evil god tribe, no one showed mercy. It was because either one side would die, or the other would. We won. We won. Ha ha ha. Cheers could be heard everywhere in the Heaven realm. Countless people were extremely excited. He had finally won. For countless years, the evil god tribe had been a huge rock that had been pressing down on the hearts of countless people in the Heaven realm. It was like a knife hanging over everyone's head, ready to cut down at any moment, making it hard for many people to breathe. But now, the evil god tribe that had suppressed the Heaven realm for countless years had been defeated by them. All of their experts had been killed. From now on, there would no longer be any enemies in the Heaven realm. Naturally, they would be very excited. Lu Ming did not participate in the battle that followed. He returned to the lair of Zulong. The ancestral dragon had arrived. Ie put his hands behind his back and looked at the golden seal and the hideous crack with an extremely ugly expression. Senior. Lu Ming cupped his fists. They're here. The ancestral dragon said. His voice was a little lonely, as if he had suddenly aged a lot. I know you have a lot of questions. I didn't want to tell you about this, but now I have to. I will gather everyone here and tell you everything in detail. Zulong said. Lu Ming nodded. Then, Zulong took out a big drum and hit it. Thump. 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 The war drum shook, and the sound of the boom spread out at a terrifying speed. The entire Tai Ching heavenly region could hear it. It could even spread to other heavenly regions. In the Heaven realm, countless people were celebrating. However, when they heard this war drum, everyone's expression changed drastically. What's going on? This is a war drum, and it's our gent that it's only sounded when there's an extreme crisis. Who sounded the war drum? This is the ancestral dragon war drum. Only senior ancestral dragon can sound it. What's going on? At this moment, the heavenly realm was in a mess. Didn't they win? Why did the ancestral dragon sound this kind of war drum? Could it be that there was another danger in the heaven realm? The excitement from before had disappeared, and everyone's heart was covered with a shadow. Countless people flew toward the lair of Zulong. Furthermore, the news spread rapidly. The experts who were struggling in the evil god realm had also heard the news and rushed to the lair of Zulong. Not long after, Zik Nianxing and Xia Nianjuan appeared in the void near the lair of Zulong. They looked at the golden skull and their eyes flashed as if they understood something. After that, more and more people came. Greetings, Lord War God. The crowd came forward and paid their respects to Lu Ming and the ancestral dragon. Lu Ming had fully displayed the combat strength of a martial god previously. Naturally, they treated Lu Ming as a martial god and were very respectful. Lu Ming and the ancestral dragon nodded and did not say much. As time passed, more and more creatures gathered around the lair of Zulong. After a few days, this place was densely packed with countless heaven realm powerhouses. The strongest group of people in the heaven realm had almost all arrived. Most of the people are here. Zulong looked around and said, "Today, I want to tell you some things. Originally, I didn't want to say these things." At the scene, no one spoke, waiting for the ancestral dragon to continue. The foreign race's divine ancestor, the divine ancestor Bloodheart, has already died. Zulong said. He's really dead. In the heaven realm, most of the people were ecstatic. They had only been guessing before, but now that the ancestral dragon had confirmed, they finally relaxed. However, some of them didn't look happy because they could see that the ancestral dragon didn't look happy at all. Instead, he looked solemn. Zulong waved his hand, and the scene quieted down. Let me tell you, although we have defeated the foreign kinds, a greater crisis is coming. Zulong continued. What? The moment the ancestral dragon said that, most of them were shocked and then looked puzzled. A bigger crisis? If the alien races were defeated, how could there be a greater danger? Don't tell me. Many people looked at the golden seal and the crack. Boom! At this moment, a terrifying aura came from the crack again. It was indescribably terrifying. Everyone's face changed and they wanted to kneel down. After that, 2 BALLs of light appeared and flickered non-stop. After a while, they left. Gulp, gulp. Many people kept swallowing their saliva, and their faces were very serious. They guessed that the danger the ancestral dragon was talking about might come from there. However, what was behind the golden seal? Why was there such a terrifying aura? It was many times stronger than the ancestral dragon. In this world, was there still an existence stronger than the martial god? Many people were puzzled. Do you know why the evil god tribe attacked our heaven realm? Do you know why they want to destroy our heaven realm? The ancestral dragon continued. The eyes of many people flickered, including Lu Ming. This question had been on Lu Ming's mind all along. Why did the evil god race have to attack the heaven realm and destroy it? It was not good for both sides to live in peace. Even if they were fighting for resources, they shouldn't be fighting like this. In 23. Chapter 2558 Truth of the Ancient War. Everyone looked at the ancestral dragon, waiting for him to continue. Zulong pondered for a while, as if he was thinking about what to say. After a while, he said, "Why did the evil god tribe and the foreign race's divine ancestor attack the heaven realm and destroy us? It's for that." Zulong pointed at the golden seal and said, "The heaven-suppressing scowl. Their goal is to tear the heaven-suppressing seal apart. Heaven-suppressing seal. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. They knew that the seal was called the heaven-suppressing seal. However, why did the evil god race have to tear the heaven-suppressing seal apart? If I want to know everything, I have to start from the structure of this world, or the universe. People who cultivate laws can cultivate a small world after they enter the martial emperor realm. However, no matter how strong their cultivation is, these small worlds still have flaws. As for the heaven realm, primordial realm, and evil god realm, they are naturally formed by heaven and earth, with perfect nomological laws and great Taos. They are ruled by the heavenly Tao. Such worlds allow people to cultivate continuously until they reach the half-god realm. These worlds are called small kiliacosm. Zhu Long paused for a moment as if he wanted to give everyone time to digest. A small world. Many people's hearts trembled and their imaginations ran wild. Hearing the ancestral dragon's words, other than the evil god realm, heaven realm, and primordial realm, could there be other worlds? Some people with weaker cultivation had originally thought that the world was only so big, with only the heaven realm, the primordial realm, and the evil god realm. They had never thought that there were other worlds, and were naturally even more shocked at this time. Everyone's imagination ran wild. If there are small worlds, there will naturally be big worlds. The greater world is known as the primal universe. It is also known as the divine realm. That place is vast and boundless. I wonder how vast it is. Zhu Long continued. As expected, the primal universe. Lu Ming's heart trembled. It was the second time he heard the term primeval universe. Back then, Baya had mentioned it on Netherworld Island. The primeval universe is too vast. A small kiliacosm is like a speck of dust compared to the primeval universe. The number of small kiliacosm attached to the primeval universe is beyond imagination. No one knows how many there are. And our heaven realm, primordial realm, and the evil god tribe are a small kiliacosm. Zhu Long continued to explain. What? Most of the people at the scene were dumbfounded. Zhu Long's words had subverted their worldview and their understanding. The heaven realm, the primordial realm, and the evil god realm added together was only a small kiliacosm. And there were countless small kiliacosm that were attached to the primeval universe. This meant that there were countless worlds that were similar to the heaven realm, the primordial realm, and the evil god realm. Above them, there was a vast primal universe. In the small kiliacosm, the highest cultivation can be reached is the demigod realm. If you want to break through to the martial god realm, you can only do so by going to the desolate universe. Before ancient times, the heaven realm, primordial realm, evil god realm, and the primeval universe were all connected. Therefore, before that era, many half-gods went to the primeval universe. Zhu Long said. Then why is it that no one has gone out and no one has heard of it? Someone could not help but ask. I know you have your doubts. The heaven realm, primordial realm, and evil god realm can be considered as small kiliacosm. There is only one Pa-S sage that leads to the primeval universe. That Pa-S sage is there. The ancestral dragon pointed at the seal and continued, the reason why we can't go out now that, in ancient times, I joined hands with the prison suppression patriarch and used the heaven suppression scowl to seal this Pa-S sage. What? Many people were shocked, especially some demigods. They couldn't understand why ancestral dragon and prison guarding patriarch would work together to seal the Pa-S sage. At this moment, Zhu Long sighed with a bitter face. In fact, many small kiliacosm are controlled by some big forces in the primeval universe. We are no exception. We are controlled by a powerful force in the primeval universe. That force is called the Yuan Luo Palace. It is made up of many races and is extremely powerful. Our world is their private property. In the primal universe, the human race and the divine beasts and alien races are all very spiritual races. Therefore, the Yuan Luo Palace will come here every once in a while and choose a group of powerful supreme talents to go out. Do you know why they chose these supreme talents? Not to nurture them, but to use them to refine medicine and pills for their cultivation. Boom! 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 The ancestral dragon's words shocked many people. Their world was controlled by a force called the Yuan Luo Palace in the primal universe, but the Yuan Luo Palace used them to refine elixirs. What's the difference between this and raising animals and spiritual herbs? That's right. The Yuan Luo Palace has turned this small world into a farm and a herb garden. When needed, they will extract some of the superior medicinal herbs to refine into medicine. All the humans and godly beasts are the medicinal herbs that the Yuan Luo Palace raises. Zulong said, his face turning uglier. How did this happen? Most of the people, including Lu Ming, looked very upset. They would never have thought that they were just medicinal herbs that were cultivated by others. This was a great irony and also a great blow. Zhenyu and I couldn't stand it. Zhenyu had a fortuitous encounter and obtained the heaven-suppressing seal. The two of us controlled the seal and sealed the Pa-S sage. However, when we were sealing it, we were still discovered by the people of the Yuan Luo Palace. Some of the powerhouses of the Yuan Luo Palace shouted and asked the evil god tribe to destroy us and open the scowl. The evil god tribe isn't of much use to the Yuan Luo Palace, and they rarely use them to refine elixirs. On the contrary, they've obtained many benefits from the palace. They naturally don't want the Pa-S sage to be scaled, so the divine ancestor of the non-human race and the sacred ancestor Bloodheart are determined to destroy us and open the seal. Zhu Long explained. Everyone suddenly understood. They understood everything now. They finally knew why the evil god race was so bent on attacking and destroying the heaven realm. They wanted to open the scowl and claim credit from the Yuan Luo Palace. The ancestral dragon and the prison-guarding patriarch couldn't bear to see the humans and divine beasts being enslaved by the Yuan Luo Palace like this. That was why there was the ancient battle. Originally, I didn't want to say anything about this matter. If we defeat the evil god tribe, this matter can be resolved. However, if we lose, there's no need to reveal this secret. Sigh. The ancestral dragon sighed. Lu Ming sighed as well. He understood what the ancestral dragon was thinking. It was really hard to accept that they were just medicinal herbs that were raised in captivity. It was too demoralizing and sad. If he could choose not to say it, he would naturally choose not to. However, the divine ancestor of the non-human race tore a hole in the heaven-suppressing seal with a desperate strike. As a result, the powerhouses of the Yuan Luo Palace outside will definitely find a way to enter. We won't be able to escape the disaster. You should know the whole story, so I'm telling you everything today. Zulong said. FF 23. Chapter 2559 Martial God Realm. Zhu Long explained everything clearly and the truth was revealed. Everyone's doubts were answered but no one was happy. There was only heaviness and anger. Kill. At most, well, charge out and fight to the death with that whatever Yuan Luo Palace. Right, kill our way out. Even if we die, we must kill to our heart's content. Many hot-tempered people started to shout. Zhu Long raised his hand, and everyone quieted down. Tight. How should we fight? Zhu Long shook his head and sighed. Do you know how strong the Yuan Luo Palace is? The evil god tribe can't even compare to them. I can tell you that I, prison guardian patriarch, sacred ancestor Bloodheart, and the non-human sacred ancestor were all once from the Yuan Luo Palace. We were just ordinary guards in the palace, and there were thousands of guards like us. Hiss hiss hiss. The ancestral dragon's words caused everyone to gasp. Everyone looked at each other. The ancestral dragon, the prison-guarding patriarch, and the non-human divine ancestor were all martial gods. In the heaven realm and the evil god realm, they were like myths and gods. However, such an existence was only an ordinary guard in the Yuanluo Palace, and there were thousands of such guards. How could they fight this? The other party could just send in a few martial gods and destroy them. The primal universe was also known as the Divine Realm. The Divine Realm, as its name suggested, was the world of gods. The four of us were sent here by the Yuanluo Palace to guard this place. To put it bluntly, we were sent here because we were weak. Therefore, it's very difficult for us to resist the Yuanluo Palace. However, a small kiliacosm is still a small kiliacosm. It's too weak, so terrifying experts can't enter. Once they enter, the small kiliacosm will collapse. Therefore, it's not like we have no hope. Zhu Long said. However, most of the people looked desperate. They couldn't imagine how they would fight against a force with thousands of martial gods. Alright, I've told you all that. I need to. You can go back and do what you need to do. If the people from the Yuanluo Palace come, well, just fight them. Zulong said. That's right. At most, well, just fight. If we dick, then we die. Some people shouted. More people sighed. Originally, they had been extremely happy and excited after defeating the evil god tribe. Who would have thought that an even more powerful and terrifying enemy would appear? This kind of situation truly made people despair. Most of the people left with heavy hearts. Lu Ming did not leave. He asked Zik Nyanging and the rest to go back first. He stayed behind because he still had questions to ask the ancestral dragon. Not long after, everyone left, leaving only Lu Ming and the ancestral dragon. Lu Ming, I know you still have some questions. What do you want to know? Zulong said. Senior, I'm indeed confused. Since the Yuanluo Palace has so many experts and the non-human divine ancestor could break the heaven-suppressing seal, why don't the experts of the Yuanluo Palace break it from the outside? Lu Ming asked. That's right. The seal of heaven suppression was obtained from an ancient ruin, it's extremely powerful, and once it's sealed from the inside of the heaven realm, it can mobilize the power of the entire heaven realm. It's difficult for ordinary martial gods to break from the outside, but a stronger martial god can break it from the outside. However, small kiliacosm is fragile. Once it is forcefully broken, the entire heaven realm will be destroyed. The Yuanluo Palace is reluctant to do so. What they want most is to destroy us and open it from the inside. This way, the heaven realm and the primordial realm can still become their breeding ground for the medicinal herbs. Zulong said. This answer made Lu Ming feel rather helpless. The other party did not attack because they were afraid of destroying the heaven. If the other party was ruthless, they might destroy the heaven at any time. Their destinies were not in their control. The Yuanluo Palace will definitely not send anyone too strong in, but I'm afraid they'll send someone below the third level of the Void God Realm. Zhu Long said. Ethereal God Realm? Lu Ming was puzzled. Yes, this is the division of the Martial God Realm. Generally, those who have just become a martial god are in the Void God Realm. Zhu Long nodded. Is there any realm above the Void God Realm? Lu Ming asked curiously. Yes. Above the Ethereal God Realm, there's the True God Realm, Heavenly God Realm, and King God Realm. Each realm is divided into 9 levels. Zulong said. Ethereal God Realm, True God Realm, Heavenly God Realm, and King God Realm. Lu Ming muttered. It turned out that there were still many realms above the Martial God Realm. He still had a long way to go. Although he was very strong now, he was only standing at the peak of the Heaven Realm, Primordial Realm, and Evil God Realm. However, the Heaven Realm, Primordial Realm, and Evil God Realm were just one of the endless small kiliacosm. They were nothing compared to the primeval universe. Those above the 4th level of the Void God Realm are too powerful. If their divine power surges, it's easy to break open a place like the Heaven Realm. Therefore, they'll most likely send those below the third level of the Void God realm in. However, those below the third level of the Void God realm will definitely be attacked by the heaven-suppressing seal and get injured. So, we might have a chance. However, we still have to be careful. The gap between each level of the Void God realm is huge. It's not something that the Heavenly Emperor realm can compare with. As for me, the divine ancestor of the non-human race, Zhenyu, and murderer Xian, were all at the first level of the Void God realm. Lu Ming, although you're a one-star celestial emperor and can fight a first-level Void God realm existence, even if you've broken through to the two-star celestial emperor realm, I don't think you can fight a second-level Void God realm existence. Do you understand? Zhu Long warned him seriously. Lu Ming nodded. This was very easy to understand. In the Void God realm, the gap between catch level was even greater than that of a Beavenly Emperor. Even if he had broken through to the two-star Heavenly Emperor realm, the increase in his strength was not as great as the Void God realm. Therefore, he was afraid that he would not be a match for a second-level Void God. Of course, this was under the condition that he didn't trigger the battle formula that doubled his combat power. Lu Ming, go back and cultivate. I'll stay here and inform you immediately if there's any movement. Zulong said. All right. Lu Ming nodded and turned to leave. I'll return to the Dragon Sovereign Peak. At this moment, many people had already gathered at the Dragon Sovereign Peak. Xian Yanqing, the dragon and the phoenix spirits were all there. However, many of them looked solemn. The ancestral dragon's words were like a stone that pressed down on their hearts. Lu Ming chatted with the crowd for a while before they dispersed and went to cultivate. No matter what kind of enemy he had to face, the most important thing was to improve himself. Lu Ming entered a secret room and sat cross-legged. He then moved his hand and the Great Desolation Spear appeared in his hand. One could see that the Great Desolation Spear was filled with holes. Its spirituality had been greatly reduced and it was already half destroyed. A divine artifact is indeed powerful. Lu Ming muttered. Previously, he had used the Great Desolation Spear to clash head-on with the non-human divine ancestor, and the Great Desolation Spear had been destroyed. After a few glances, Lu Ming put away the Great Desolation Spear and a combat sword appeared in his hand, 3-pound sun gift. Chapter 2560 Otherworldly creatures descend. After Lu Ming put away the Great Desolation Spear, he took out a combat sword. This combat sword was given to him by Baiya, and it was a divine weapon. Back when he was fighting the divine ancestor of the non-human race, Lu Ming had just made a breakthrough and had not had the time to refine this divine weapon. Hence, he could only use the Great Desolation Spear to fight his enemies. Lu Ming was at a slight disadvantage at first when he used the Great Desolation Spear against the divine ancestor of the non-human race who had a divine weapon. He only suppressed his opponent when he activated the battle character formula that doubled his combat power. If Lu Ming refined this divine weapon, he would be able to fight the divine ancestor of the non-human race head-on even without activating the battle symbol art to double his combat power. Lu Ming planned to refine this divine weapon now. In this way, his abilities could be improved. With a single thought, the ruler's power enveloped the combat sword and began to refine it. And NBSP, the power of a god, could rule the world, and when it came to forging divine weapons, he could do it at will, and his speed was extremely fast. In just a few days, Lu Ming had refined the combat sword. Buzz! The combat sword hovered in front of Lu Ming. It vibrated slightly and emitted a mysterious light. Collect. With a single thought, Lu Ming's combat sword turned into a ray of light and disappeared into the SPCE between his sick brows. This was also Lu Ming's fault. If it were any other celestial arch, it would be impossible for them to refine or control divine artifacts. A divine weapon was a special weapon for the martial god realm. However, there was no problem for Lu Ming to control it with the master's power. After refining the divine weapon, Lu Ming planned to start comprehending the path of domination and the battle character formula. He did not know when the experts from the Yuanluo Hall would arrive. Lu Ming had to make the best use of his time and increase his strength. With a single thought, a scroll in his sea of consciousness unfurled, revealing Jing Ye's portrait, and the rich power of a sovereign emanated from him. Lu Ming could sense the power of the way of the master at all times. Lu Ming began to focus on comprehending the way of the ruler. Time flew by and the days went by. Lu Ming's comprehension of the path of domination was rapidly improving. For the past few decades, Lu Ming had been trapped at the peak of the great emperor realm. He was blocked by the heavenly Tao and it was difficult for him to advance. But now, Lu Ming had broken through. With the help of Jingyu's portrait, his understanding of the way of the ruler was improving at an extremely fast speed. Every day, he had quite a harvest. The strange thing was that the Yuanluo palace remained silent. In the blink of an eye, 10 years had passed, said. In the past 10 years, the Yuanluo palace had not sent anyone in the past 10 years. Lu Ming benefited greatly with the help of the shocking feathers painting scroll. His path of domination had improved greatly. Now, I can already break through to become a 2-star heavenly emperor. Let's do it. Lu Ming muttered and took out a large number of divine stones, rough stones, and stones of chaos. Originally, he had used up 90% of the divine stones that he had brought out from Netherworld Mountain when he broke through to the heavenly emperor realm. However, they had defeated the evil god tribe later on. Lu Ming had obtained a large number of divine stones, rough stones, chaos stones, and primordial chaos stones from the evil god tribe's powerhouses. Now, he could help Lu Ming break through. Refine. With a wave of his hand, Lu Ming's power enveloped the divine stones, chaos stones, and rough stones. The divine stones and chaos stones exploded upon contact, and energy surged wildly toward Lu Ming. All of them were absorbed and refined by Lu Ming, transforming into world energy and power of the master. Lu Ming launched an attack on the 2-star heavenly emperor. Half a month later, Lu Ming's aura skyrocketed. His cultivation level had become a 2-star celestial emperor, and his strength had increased by a large margin. I've broken through. Lu Ming revealed a look of joy. With a breakthrough in his cultivation and an increase in his combat strength, Lu Ming's confidence grew. However, the amount of resources consumed was too terrifying. Lu Ming's resources were almost depleted. If he were to continue breaking through in the future, he didn't even know what to use to break through. Let's not care about that for now. Lu Ming shook his head and cultivated for a few days. When his realm had stabilized, Lu Ming began to study the battle character formula. In the past 10 years, Lu Ming had not stopped his comprehension of the battle formula. Li's understanding of the battle formula was getting deeper and deeper. Now, on average, he could trigger the double combat power once every 5 times. This was undoubtedly very advantageous in a great battle. Lu Ming, come quickly. At this moment, a voice rang in Lu Ming's ears. It was Zhu Long's voice. It sounded urgent. Are the experts of the Yuanluo Palace coming? The first thing that came to Lu Ming's mind was the Yuanluo Palace. I'll look a step forward and the SPCE cracked. Lu Ming disappeared and reappeared at the original lair of Zulong in the next moment. The ancestral dragon was looking at the heaven suppression scowl with a serious face. Boom! 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 At this moment, the heaven suppressing seal was shaking violently. The crack that the divine ancestor had created was expanding as if something was going to charge in. The two of them were on full alert, ready to attack at any time. Boom! 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 The crack trembled more and more violently. Finally, with a sudden roar, a huge bead rushed in from the crack. Attack! Lu Ming and the ancestral dragon were about to attack first to destroy the other party. However, just as the two of them were about to make a move, the round ball exploded, and terrifying energy spread in all directions. Not good. The two's expressions changed. That energy was too terrifying. The two of them quickly retreated to avoid this energy. In the area where the ball exploded, the SPCE was completely torn apart, and cracks appeared in the SPCE within a radius of 10 million miles, covering the sky like a spider web. Buzz. And NBSP whoosh. In the chaotic SPCE, Lu Ming saw a few streams of light flying in all directions from the area where the bead had exploded. They disappeared in the blink of an eye. Living beings. Lu Ming could see clearly that the streams of light were all living creatures that flew to various parts of the heaven realm. Some even flew into the dark void. For a moment, Lu Ming could not determine how many living creatures there were. It was obvious that a terrifying creature from the outside world had entered and was riding on that bead. After a short while, the chaotic SPCE recovered. Zhu Long's expression was very ugly. No wonder no one has entered the Yuanluo Palace for the past 10 years. It's to create those round beads to resist the power of the heaven-suppressing scowl. Zhu Long said with a dark face. So, the person who came in wasn't injured? Lu Ming asked. No, he's injured. The heaven-suppressing seal is very effective against low-leveled ethereal god realm cultivators. We just don't know how many powerful cultivators they have. Zhu Long said with a serious face. In the northern region of the Tai Ching heavenly region, a stream of light flew over and crashed into a mountain range. Boom! Boom! The mountain range trembled as the peaks crumbled and exploded. What's going on? The godly beasts and humans who were cultivating in the surroundings were shocked and stood around to watch. Who? All of a sudden, a beam of blood-red light emanated from the mountain range in front of them. Then, a terrifying suction force erupted. Not good, quickly retreat. The humans and godly beasts who were watching changed their expressions and wanted to retreat. However, they realized that they couldn't retreat at all. The suction force was too terrifying. Their bodies were sucked in by it. After a few screams, there was no more sound. In 23. Chapter 2561 City Ma. Saker. After devouring those godly beasts and humans, a blood-red light shone brightly. Then, with a flash, a strange living being appeared in the sky. This creature was in the form of a human, but it had long blood-red hair and sharp fangs in its mouth. On its back, there was a pair of blood-red wings. It looked like a human-shaped bat. Human, the flesh and blood of divine beasts are too delicious, too delicious. The human-shaped bat creature licked its lips, revealing an intoxicated expression as well as a deep desire for blood. His spiritual sense spread out and instantly covered the entire northern region of the Tai Ching heavenly region. Haha, so many humans and godly beasts. This farm is not bad. I'll enjoy it first. The human-shaped bat sneered. He took a step forward, and in the next moment, he appeared in the sky above a huge city. This giant city was a famous giant city in the northern region of the Tai Ching heavenly region. The total number of humans and godly beasts in this giant city was more than 100 million, and there were several major forces living there. Ha, become my food and replenish my energy. The humanoid bat laughed sinisterly as his body rapidly grew to 100,000 feet tall, and his terrifying aura spread in all directions. My God, what is that? What a terrifying aura. The beings in the city were all stunned when they discovered the human-shaped bat. The aura of the bat was terrifying. Divine might. That's divine might. He's a god. In the huge city, a heavenly emperor cried out in horror, God. Everyone was shocked. Now, in the heaven realm, the primordial realm, and the evil god realm. Apart from Zhu Long and Lu Ming, were there any other gods? Not good. Go, quickly go. Suddenly, someone shouted and rushed out of the city. They thought of what the ancestral dragon had said, that the creatures of the universe would attack the heaven realm. But now, a god had appeared out of thin air. It must have come from beyond the heavens. You want to leave? Where can you go in front of me? The human-shaped bat laughed sinisterly. He grabbed forward with his huge hand, covering the sky and covering the earth. There were thousands of humans and divine beasts that had escaped. He grabbed them and stuffed them into his bloody mouth, chewing them. Blood flowed out of the bat's fangs. Delicious, it's really delicious. Ha ha ha. The human-shaped bat laughed. When he came in from the primeval universe, even with the protection of the bead, he was still injured. Now, he could devour these human godly beasts to heal his injuries. In the blink of an eye, thousands of people were swallowed, including a heavenly emperor expert. The people in the giant city panicked and began to flee. Ha ha ha, become my delicacy. The benefits of this job are too good. The human-shaped bat laughed loudly. It opened its bloody mouth and swallowed. A terrifying attractive force erupted, and countless people in the giant city involuntarily flew towards the human-shaped bat's mouth. Ah, help. No, no. Countless humans and godly beasts cried out in fear. Whether it was the true emperors, great emperors, or heavenly emperors, none of them had the power to fight back. They were all swallowed by the humanoid bat and became its food. In one gulp, he had swallowed hundreds of thousands of living beings. Furthermore, there was an endless stream of living beings that were being devoured by him. More than half of the 100 million living beings in the city had been devoured in the blink of an eye. Ha ha ha, this small kiliacosm has so little pressure. It's too fragile. I can destroy the world here. The human-shaped bat laughed madly and continued to devour. At the same time, in the southern part of the Tai Ching heavenly region, there was also a figure that was as tall as the sky, walking in the air. This figure was also in the form of an adult, but his entire body was covered in a black robe. He held a large flag in his hand, and on the large flag, there were countless black shadows scurrying about. These black shadows were all souls, like evil ghosts. Buzz. This figure also came to the sky above a giant city. Without looking at it, he waved the flag and it became infinitely huge, covering the entire giant city. Not long after, the flag was lifted up, and all the living beings in the giant city died. Their souls were sucked into the flag. Then, he continued to walk to the next big city. Ma. Saker, endless Ma. Saker. Wherever these two living beings went, there would be endless slaughter. They treated humans and godly beasts as supplements and enjoyed them to their heart's content. In the lair of Zulong, Lu Ming and the ancestral dragon spread out their spiritual senses and immediately discovered this scene. Damn it! And NBSP Zhu Long's face was vicious and he roared in rage. Lu Ming's expression was extremely cold. Both of them are at first level void god level. Lu Ming, one for each of us. Zhu Long said to Lu Ming. All right. Lu Ming nodded. He took a step forward and headed north of the Tai Ching heavenly region. The ancestral dragon, on the other hand, charged towards the south of the Tai Ching heavenly region. In the north of the Tai Ching heavenly region, the human-shaped bat had already devoured all the living beings in the giant city. The vast city, which was originally extremely prosperous, was now completely empty. Not even a dog or a chick could be seen. Cool, this is too cool. The human-shaped bat burped, and the greed and malevolence in his eyes became even more intense. He set his eyes on the next giant city, and his huge body was about to rush there. However, at this moment, the void front of them split open, and a figure stepped out. This figure was naturally Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming's expression was extremely cold, and his body exuded an extremely strong killing intent. These existences from the Yuanluo Palace had really treated them as medicinal ingredients, and could harvest and kill them at will. An ant at the transformation void martial stage. The humanoid bat was slightly stunned when it saw Lu Ming. "I'll let you die a horrible death," Lu Ming said coldly and stepped forward. "What? You want me to die miserably, ha ha ha, with just you, a transformation void martial stage martial artist?" The human-shaped bat began to laugh wildly. He called the Heavenly Emperor realm exactly the same as in the Yellow Springs world. Boom! Suddenly, the humanoid bat moved. It stretched out a large hand and grabbed at Lu Ming. In his opinion, Lu Ming, a void transformation stage ant, was too arrogant. He wanted to swallow Lu Ming in one bite. Kill! Lu Ming could not be bothered to waste his breath on the other party. The divine weapon sword appeared in his hand and burst out with the way of the Dominator, slashing out. The sword light burst out, and a sword mark that was millions of miles long appeared in the sky. Piffed! The palm of the human-shaped bat was directly split in half. Ah! The human-shaped bat screamed miserably as it retracted its arm. How is that possible? You've mastered the Tao of a ruler. How could someone in a small kiliacosm master the Tao of a ruler? The human-shaped bat cried out in disbelief. Kill! Lu Ming's killing intent was as cold as a knife. He held his combat sword and charged at his opponent. 23. Chapter 2562. Killing another god. Lu Ming had comprehended the battle symbol art. The battle symbol art was the source of all battles. After comprehending the battle symbol art, regardless of the technique, divine power, or power, it would be enhanced. Moreover, no matter what weapon he used, he had to be able to use it with his heart and could unleash its power to the greatest extent. Therefore, there was no difference between Lu Ming using a sword and a spear. It seems like that trash from the three-eyed race died in your hands. The human-shaped bat roared angrily. It took out a divine weapon that looked like a pair of scissors and charged at Lu Ming. Boom! The two of them exchanged a direct blow, and the human-shaped bat creature's body trembled violently as it retreated. How is that possible? Your battle strength. The human-shaped bat was extremely shocked. Lu Ming was only at the transformation void martial stage. How could his combat strength be so strong? Could it be that existences who had mastered the Tao of rulers were this powerful? The human-shaped bat found it hard to calm down. Even in the primeval universe, those who mastered the Tao of rulers were rare geniuses. He had only heard of them and had never seen them before. He had never imagined that they would be so terrifying that even he was at a disadvantage. Buzz! Lu Ming repelled the humanoid bat with one move and continued to attack the other party. The two of them exchanged a few more blows. The humanoid bat was no match for him at all, and was sent flying. His arm exploded, and blood spurted out of his mouth. Lu Ming's abilities had increased by a large margin compared to when he had fought the divine ancestor of the non-human race. Now, he had refined a divine weapon and his cultivation had broken through to the 2-star Heavenly Emperor level. The human-shaped bat was only at the same level as the non-human divine ancestor. Furthermore, he had been injured by the Heaven Suppression Seal when he had entered the heavenly realm. Naturally, he was not Lu Ming's match. No, this person is too terrifying. I'll find the others first and then kill this person. The human-shaped bat turned small and flapped its wings in an attempt to escape. However, Lu Ming would not let it escape. He moved and slashed his sword madly. Beams of terrifying sword light enveloped the bat-like creature. Pin! The humanoid bat was slashed by Lu Ming's sword and was almost cut in half. He spat out a large mouthful of blood and flew out. He was severely injured. "Brat, you dare to kill me? You're only from a small kiliacosm, and you dare to kill me? I'm from the Yuanluo Palace. If you kill me, the Yuanluo Palace will burn your bones and scatter your ashes." The human-shaped bat started to roar and threaten Lu Ming. Laughable. Lu Ming was unmoved. This human-shaped bat had slaughtered hundreds of millions of living beings in the heaven realm as soon as he entered. No matter what, he had to kill this person. Lu Ming became one with the sword and turned into a terrifying sword light, slashing across. PM. This time, the human-shaped bat creature was really cut in half. Ah! The human-shaped bat roared in fear and tried to escape. He had never thought that he would be in danger of dying the moment he entered. Originally, he thought that it was just a small kiliacosm, and he could enter it to indulge himself. He never thought that he would end up like this. Kill! Lu Ming let out a long howl and his combat sword slashed down once again. This time, the humanoid bat could no longer avoid it. It was cut in half by Lu Ming's sword, and its soul was destroyed. It was completely dead. This time, it was much easier for Lu Ming to kill a first-level void god realm. However, Lu Ming did not dare to be careless. The humanoid bat was obviously the weakest among the void god realm experts. It was only at the first level of the void god realm. Moreover, when the other party entered, he was injured. That was why he was casually killed by Lu Ming. If the other party was not injured, it would not be so casual. What would happen if he encountered a second or even third level void god realm? Lu Ming waved his hand and kept the humanoid bat's storage ring. Before he could open it to check, Lu Ming's expression changed. I realized that a powerful being was charging toward the heaven-suppressing seal. Don't even think about it. Lu Ming was shocked and furious. He did not know how many living beings had come in from the outside. The other party was obviously taking the opportunity to attack the heaven-suppressing skull and wanted to tear apart completely. Lu Ming rushed towards the heaven-suppressing seal at top speed. But he was still a step too slow. Boom! A burly man with a single horn on his head struck the heaven-suppression seal, causing the crack to grow even bigger. Die! Lu Ming rushed over and slashed with his sword. The one-horned man was shocked. He turned around and threw a punch at Lu Ming, which collided with the combat sword. The one-horned man's body trembled violently and he was pushed back tens of thousands of miles. This horned man was also at the first level of the void god realm. The Tao of a sovereign. The one-horned man's eyes were filled with deep shock. Kill! Lu Ming let out a long hiss. Without a word of nonsense, he charged towards the one-horned man. The one-horned man also burst out with all his strength and charged at Lu Ming. See La. At this moment, A.S.P.C. not far away cracked open and a pitch-black giant python appeared. It was as huge as a mountain range and it charged toward Lu Ming. He was another first-level void god realm expert. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed slightly. His combat sword shook and split into two sword lights, slashing at the one-horned man and the giant python. With two terrifying explosions, the void shattered. The horned man and the giant python were both sent flying by Lu Ming. Lu Ming was courageous and invincible. He continued to charge at his opponent. At the same time, he constantly activated the battle symbol art, wanting to trigger the double combat power. Boom! The void shattered, and a burly figure appeared in the void. He was holding a saber and slashed over. The saber light was shocking and extremely terrifying. Lu Ming blocked the attack with his sword, causing a terrifying explosion. The SPACE within a radius of 10 million miles was completely destroyed. The terrifying power landed on the ground, causing the earth to constantly explode, and a 10 million mile long gully was forcibly formed. Lava erupted from the depths of the ground, making it look like the end of the world. It could destroy the heavens and earth. It was truly destructive. The entire Taijing heavenly region was shaken. At this moment, anyone in the heaven realm who had some cultivation could feel that a terrifying war had broken out. This was because the pressure of the gods filled the entire heaven realm, and everyone felt that a great disaster was imminent. Have the people outside come in? At the Dragon Emperor peak, Zik Nianqing stood in the air with deep worry in his eyes. He then stepped forward and headed in the direction of the heaven-suppressing seal. Is it an expert from the primal universe? Have the experts from the primeval universe arrived? Lu Ming, senior ancestral dragon, are you fighting with the outsiders? At this moment, everyone was discussing and guessing. A kind of fear was spreading in everyone's heart. However, they were helpless and could only wait. They couldn't partake. In the battle between gods. They could only wait for the result. Let's go and take a look. Some of the demigods all headed towards the heaven-suppressing seal. After all, the battle was the most intense there. In the southern part of the Tai-Ching heavenly region, they also felt the fluctuations, but they were not as intense. However, these demigods didn't dare to get too close. They could only watch from distance. 23. Chapter 2563 Solo Battle against the Arithmetic God, Lu Ming. Tens of millions of miles away from the heaven-suppressing seal, Xie Nianqing's figure appeared and watched from afar. Lu Ming, you have to hold on. In another direction, Dandan's figure also appeared, her face solemn. Qing Tsang, the Titan Longhorn Beetle, the Nine Lives Devilish Silkworm, Venerable Sovereign Rebellion, and the others also appeared. They looked at the destructive scene in front of them and were deeply shocked. A battle between gods was too terrifying. They couldn't get involved at all. They would probably be ground into dust by the aftermath. Lu Ming, all the demigods muttered as they looked forward. At that moment, Lu Ming was surrounded by three figures. One of them was the horned man, while the other was the giant python. It was as large as a mountain, and its eyes were cold as it stared at Lu Ming. However, what made Lu Ming most concerned was the third one. It was a bald burly man, but his bald head was covered with black runes, which looked extremely strange. He was holding a saber that was bigger than a man. The last strike had been made by this man. Second level of the Void God realm. Lu Ming muttered in his heart. After receiving the other party's attack, Lu Ming could tell that the bald man's strength was far above that of the horned man and the giant python. It was very likely that he was a second-level Void God-level existence. The way of a ruler. I didn't expect that someone in a small world could master the way of a ruler. If we use it to refine great medicine, young master will be very happy. The bald man licked his lips. His eyes were extremely cold. He suddenly stepped forward and slashed his saber, which was taller than a man, at Lu Ming. Lu Ming also waved his sword and the two of them clashed again. Clang! A terrifying explosion was heard. The saber radiance and sword chi were wanton. Lu Ming's body trembled and he retreated continuously. The second-level Void God realm is indeed powerful. Senior Ancestral Dragon is right. Lu Ming had a thought in his mind. When he was a one-star Heavenly Emperor, he was able to fight against a first-level Void God realm expert. However, now that he had broken through to the two-star Heavenly Emperor realm, he was unable to fight against a second-level Void God realm expert. That was because the difference between breaking through one level in the Heavenly Emperor realm was not as big as breaking through one level in the Void God realm. Unless he became a 3-star Heavenly Emperor, he wouldn't be able to fight against a second-level Void God realm expert. Bang! 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 After the bald man pushed Lu Ming back, he kept stepping forward. His divine power burst out and his saber kept slashing forward. Lu Ming used all his strength. His entire body was enveloped by the power of the ruler. His combat sword trembled and he slashed out beams of sword light to fight against his opponent. At the same time, Lu Ming kept casting the battle formula, hoping to trigger the double combat strength. This time, Lu Ming was more unlucky. He had already triggered it more than 10 times but he still did not trigger the double combat strength. Clang! Clang! After more than a dozen exchanges, Lu Ming was sent flying back more than 100,000 miles. Blood seeped out of the corner of his mouth. Heaven-suppressing seal, watch me tear it apart. The bald burly man laughed heartily as a shocking saber light slashed towards the heaven-suppressing seal. Boom! At this critical moment, Lu Ming finally triggered the double combat strength and his combat strength skyrocketed. Buzz! Lu Ming turned into a ray of light and arrived in front of the bald man in an instant. He swung his sword. The power of this sword was much stronger than the previous one. The bald man's expression changed and he raised his saber to block it. Thump! The bald burly man was sent flying by Lu Ming's sword. Kill! Lu Ming let out a long hiss and increased his speed to the maximum as he charged forward. However, he did not charge at the bald man, but at the one-horned man. What? The one-horned burly man was shocked. He did not expect Lu Ming to suddenly explode and send the bald burly man flying with one move. Initially, he thought that the bald burly man would be able to crush and kill Lu Ming. Instinctively, he raised the weapon in his hand to block it. However, when his weapon collided with Lu Ming's combat sword, he felt an irresistible force surging towards him. Clang! The weapon in the one-horned man's hand flew out, and his arm was directly blown apart. He screamed and spurted out blood as his body flew far away. How could Lu Ming miss this opportunity? Buzz! Lu Ming dashed out and slashed out a second time. Save! The one-horned burly man shouted in horror. However, he had only managed to utter one word before he was split into two by Lu Ming's sword. The one-horned man had fallen. Fast, it was extremely fast. From the moment Lu Ming made his move to the moment he killed the one-horned burly man, only an instant had passed. After Lu Ming killed the one-horned man, he did not stop at all and charged at the giant python. Retreat! The bald burly man was the first to react. He roared and charged at Lu Ming with a saber in his hand. Buzz! Buzz! The bald burly man slashed more than 100 times in a row. Terrifying beams of light crushed the void and slashed toward Lu Ming. Buzz! Lu Ming slashed horizontally, breaking through 100 saber beams in a row. However, the giant python finally seized the opportunity and retreated at top speed. At the same time, its body shrank, turning into a huge snake that was a few meters long. Its eyes were filled with fear. This person is evil. Let's join forces to deal with him. The bald burly man roared and charged at Lu Ming. At the same time, the giant python made its move. It opened its mouth and spat out a thin black sword that was like a small snake. It flew towards Lu Ming at a strange angle and at an astonishing speed. However, Lu Ming did not care about the python's attack. He charged straight at the other party. Lu Ming's purpose was very simple. He would eliminate the weak ones first and then deal with the strong ones. Die! The python's eyes were cold. It retreated and controlled the snake-shaped sword to stab Lu Ming. Buzz! The snake-shaped thin sword was approaching Lu Ming's glabella. However, just as it was about to hit Lu Ming's glabella, his eyes glowed with a purple-gold light. My lord! With a single thought, Lu Ming's dominator's power erupted and acted on the snake-shaped sword. Buzz! The direction of the snake-shaped thin sword deviated and flew past Lu Ming's ear. However, Lu Ming's figure did not stop and he continued to charge at the python. Not good. The giant python's expression changed drastically, and it retreated frantically. The bald man shouted angrily and chased after him. Who? At this moment, a terrifying suction force came from above Lu Ming's head and acted on his body, causing him to suddenly stop. "Brat, die!" A loud roar came from the sky, and a huge object suddenly appeared. This person's entire body was blood red. He had a wide mouth and sharp fangs. He had a pair of blood-colored wings. He looked extremely similar to the human-shaped bat that Lu Ming had killed earlier. It was obvious that they were from the same race. However, this humanoid bat creature's cultivation was obviously stronger, no weaker than the bald man's. Its two wings were like a storm, slashing at Lu Ming. Another second-level void god realm existence. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed again. How many experts had entered the Yuanluo Palace? This was what Lu Ming was most uncertain about. But now, they could only fight. The combat sword in his hand trembled and shot out beams of sword light to fight against the blood-colored bat above his head. At the same time, Lu Ming soared into the sky, becoming one with the sword. Chapter 2564 Frightening enemy. Lu Ming used all his strength and became one with his sword. Al turned into a dazzling sword light and attacked the humanoid bat. Pfft! Blood splattered everywhere. One of the bat-shaped creature's wings was almost cut off. He screamed and quickly retreated. Before Lu Ming activated the double combat strength formula, his combat strength was weaker than a second-level void god realm powerhouse. However, after activating the double combat strength formula, his abilitics had completely set a second-level void god realm powerhouse. Kill! Lu Ming simply stared at the humanoid bat and kept slashing at it. However, the bald man had also arrived. He joined forces with the humanoid bat to fight Lu Ming. As for the giant python, it was hiding in the distance, controlling the snake-shaped thin sword from afar to attack Lu Ming. Boom! Boom! The two sides continued fight and exchanged dozens of moves. Even though Lu Ming was fighting Ankh against 3, he still had the upper hand. Poochie! One of the bat-like creature's wings was completely chopped off by Lu Ming. Blood splattered in all directions and drowned the entire mountain. "Ah, brat, ant, I'm going to break your head." The human-shaped bat roared in anger, but what welcomed it was Lu Ming's sword gleam. The sword light flashed, and one of the bat-like creature's wings was almost cut off. It was so scared that it retreated. Clang! Lu Ming turned around and swung his sword. His sword collided with the bald man's and the bald man was sent flying. Damn it, how is this kid so strong? The bald man's face was gloomy as he retreated to the python's side. As for the human-shaped bat, he hurriedly came to the bald man and the other's side. The three of them gathered together, not daring to separate. What do we do? This brat is too strong. We can't kill him, nor can we tear the heaven-suppressing seal. The giant python said. Where's Su-Tu? Why isn't he here yet? Once he's here, we can deal with this kid. The human-shaped bat said. Humph, you're really useless. You can't even deal with a native from a small kiliacosm. Suddenly, a cold and arrogant voice sounded. The void trembled and a figure appeared out of thin air. This figure looked similar to a human. He had a well-proportioned body, but his eyes were cold and filled with a faint arrogance. Su-Tu. Seizing this person, the bald man, the human-shaped bat, and the giant python were all overjoyed. Su-Tu, this person has mastered the path of a ruler. It's best not to kill him. Capture him alive and offer him to young master. Young master will definitely be overjoyed. The bald man said. Understood. Su-Tu nodded. He looked at Lu Ming and said indifferently, Brat, surrender without resistance and you can suffer less physical pain. If you want to take me down, then let's see if you have the ability. Lu Ming said coldly. The purple gold light on his body grew thicker and thicker. However, his heart was heavy because he couldn't see through this person called Su Tu at all. "You're overestimating yourself." Su Tu's cold voice was heard. He then took a step forward and in an instant, he was close to Lu Ming and threw a punch. Boom! This punch contained a terrifying power. The terrifying power compressed the void and crushed toward Lu Ming with an earth-shattering force. There was no way to avoid it, so he could only take it head-on. Lu Ming growled and gathered all his energy, slashing with all his might. Boom! Lu Ming felt as if he had slashed at an iron wall. Endless power surged and the combat sword vibrated continuously, almost flying away. Lu Ming was sent flying by the punch. His body was like a meteorite, crashing to the ground. The ground shook violently, and a huge pit with a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles appeared. Everything was turned into ashes, and the surrounding tens of millions of miles were covered with cracks. Fortunately, all living beings within 100 million miles of the heaven-suppressing scowl had been evacuated. Otherwise, countless living beings would have died. Lu Ming, in the distance, Xie Nianking's face turned pale with fear. His eyes were filled with worry. Boom! However, in the next moment, a purple gold light burst out of the huge pit. It was Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming felt as if his entire body was about to split apart. Waves of excruciating pain radiated from his body. Even though he had circulated the indestructible ancient scroll, it was of no use. His recovery was very slow. What terrifying strength! Lu Ming was shocked. This Su Tu was definitely a terrifying existence. His strength was far above second-level Void God realm. The ancestral dragon said that the small Kiliacosm would be in great danger if anyone above the fourth level of the Void God realm entered. Hence, this person was most likely at the third level of the Void God realm. Not bad, not bad. You can still struggle after taking one of my moves. Your talent is not bad even in the primeval universe. Unfortunately, your fate is already decided. Su Tu's eyes became even colder, and there was even a trace of jealousy. Boom! An extremely terrifying aura burst out from Su Tu's body. Boom! 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 Gotcha! In the sky, fled roar was heard. An extremely terrifying scene appeared. With Su Tu as the center, the void kept exploding, and ferocious spatial cracks appeared. It was as if the entire world was going to collapse. The SPCE in this small world is really weak. However, it's just enough for me to use. Kill. Su Tu's expression turned ferocious. He suddenly rushed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's pupils contracted sharply. He was highly focused and his energy, qi, and spirit were adjusted to their peak. Buzz. Lu Ming's figure retreated rapidly. You can't retreat. Su Tu's cold voice was heard. His speed was even faster and more shocking. He approached Lu Ming at an extreme speed and threw a punch. Boom! 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 The void within a radius of millions of miles exploded instantly, forming a terrifying spatial storm that engulfed Lu Ming, terrifying. Su Tu's power was too terrifying. Every move he made had the power to destroy the world. If he were to use all his strength to bombard the ground, he would definitely blow up the entire Tai-Ching heavenly region. No wonder the ancestral dragon said that if an existence that was too strong entered the small Kiliacosm, it would collapse. The stability of a small Kiliacosm couldn't be compared to the primal universe. Faced with Su Tu's attack, Lu Ming could not avoid it. Break, break, break. Lu Ming roared and slashed his combat sword continuously. However, Su Tu's strength was too strong. Lu Ming felt the combat sword shake violently. His body was sent flying again and he crashed into the ground, causing the ground to crack continuously. Lu Ming spat out a mouthful of blood. He was severely injured. He immediately took out a life fruit and swallowed it. After swallowing the life fruit, his injuries healed rapidly. I even have this kind of godly medicine. However, it's useless. Su Tu stepped forward and punched out with both fists. Room! 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 Waves of terrifying fist force crushed out. Lu Ming could not resist at all. He was hit continuously and crashed to the ground. This time, Lu Ming's body almost exploded. His entire body was covered in cracks and he no longer looked human. Even with the life fruit, was difficult for him to recover. 23 that you're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.